Recorded live from Studio 12A in sunny Phoenix, Arizona. You're listening to the Josh and Friends Podcast.
Hey, thank you for tuning into the Josh and Friends Podcast. I am your host. My name is Josh. And this week, we have another music special. Today, we are here to celebrate the greatest supergroups of all time. And joining me in today's discussion are two very familiar voices to the show. My first guest is coming to us from my old stomping grounds in Washington State. He is an artist, a photographer, and he's also one of my biggest music buddies from back in the day. He is the international man of mystery, Mr. John Rasich. And last but certainly not least, coming to us out of the great state of Oregon, he is a highly respected high school teacher and someone who is responsible for expanding my musical knowledge of all things metal. He is the one and only Mr. Ethan McDonald. So please put your hands together and give me a warm welcome for Mr. John Rasich and Ethan McDonald. Yeah! Yes! All right! The gang is back together at once, finally! How you guys doing?
Beautiful.
Amazing. I am so pumped to see you handsome gentlemen and talk about music, something I know we all love deeply and dearly.
Definitely. Definitely. So, Johnny, we did a couple of Beatle episodes. They were fun. But this one could top it. We'll see. And Ethan, we did the Seattle Grunge episode.
Yes, sir.
And the Replacement Singer episodes with Lee.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, and that kind of ties into some of this stuff we're going to be talking about here. So,
yes, it does.
So it's always fun talking music with you guys. So, yeah. So let's get right to this because we have a lot of ground to cover here.
Yes, we do.
So,
you cut quite a bit too.
What's that?
Well, I was gonna say you cut quite a bit of bands too, and we still have a lot.
Well,
of
yeah, I mean, geez, God, we have like a good 30 plus bands that we're going to be trying to cover here. So, yeah. So today we are here to discuss the greatest supergroups of all time. Now, just as a brief description, a supergroup is defined as a rock band whose members are individually famous from a previous group. So, now how famous? Sometimes it varies, but yeah. So I think we're going to, what we're going to do today is we're going to do like we did before is we're going to skim over the list in alphabetical order. So, there's no favorites or anything like that, and some of the, and in the end, what we'll do is we'll select which ones we think deserve the honor of being the greatest supergroup of all time. And again, I told you guys that it's all up in the air. Whatever your guys is, however you guys want to go with this, you guys are good to, it's all up to you as far as how you want to grade these bands, or, you can pick your favorites or who you think is the best.
Sure, Josh. Then why did you text me what I'm supposed to say then? What is that about? Why did you text me that I needed to say these three bands are the best?
Well, we're going to do the top three. We're going to do the top three with a runner-up again, man. We're going to do the top three with a runner-up.
Smart ass.
Yeah. All right. So, so let's just do this. What we're going to do is we're going to go right from the top here, and we're going to start off first with the name of the group is Alias, formed in 1988. This band was comprised of three members from the band Heart. So essentially everybody but Ann and Nancy.
And then
there's two members from the band Sheriff. And their big hit was More Than Words Can Say. And it's not to be mixed up with the Extreme More Than Words or whatever the heck that is. But anyway, yeah. So the song peaked on the charts at number 2 on the Hot 100 in 1990, and also hit number 13 on the album track charts. Johnny, what are your thoughts on Alias?
Number 2? You said number 2. Wow. Okay. So I recognize this song more than words, and the only two things that popped in my head when I heard this song was two scenarios. It's raining with the camera rotating around the couple. The hunk brushes the hair out of the crush's eyes as he kisses her passionately. Fade to black, credits roll.
What
The
is
other
going on?
thing,
I don't know, but I'm highly
dude,
aroused.
yeah, listen to this song. You got to listen to this song because
What's
you'll
the
know what
other
I'm
scenario,
saying.
John? What's the
Oh
other
yeah.
scenario?
Okay, it's prom, early 90s. The ugly kid removes their glasses and becomes hot and is approached by the populars. There you go. Yeah. And slow dances their way to ecstasy and world
Ooh.
domination.
Oh,
Did you do this for every song?
what is? I'll tell you what the
just
scenario
this
I
one.
got. John, the scenario I got when I listened to this is, what is this crafty soft rock song that I'm pretty sure Beavis and Butthead would like defecate on in their show? Like, it's just like, I was just going like, oh, I totally remember this song. Like, I think I changed the radio station on
Oh,
purpose when this
dude.
came on.
This
I
hurt
think
me.
I think you
This
guys
is the
nailed
first
it.
song. The first song I heard, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what have I got myself into?"
Yeah. No.
So,
yeah.
it was famous. I mean, I
Sure.
knew the song. It was horrible music, and it was trapped in this like little tiny window of time. It was low
John,
budget knockoff.
you're saying exactly what I basically thought too. I mean, like, to me, this personifies the worst kind of music of the era.
Mhm.
The song, look, the song,
worst of '80s heart.
the song's okay. It's just completely vanilla. This is the type of music. This is why grunge became so successful, because
Oh my
this is what like music became. It was kind of like, I mean, like it doesn't
Canned,
suck. It's
formulaic.
yeah, it's vanilla and it's there. It exists. It's like, you know, it's corporate rock. It was made to be a hit. And you know, it's just, I don't know. It's just hollow to me. There's no soul. You know what I mean? It's just, okay, it's catchy. The girls like it, I guess, but
high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah. So I don't know. Look, they're not going to be on anybody's list. So let's move on. So the second, all right. So the second band on our list, we have the group Alter Bridge. And this band was formed after the breakup of Creed, Ethan's favorite band back in the day.
Oh, good God.
In 2004. So essentially, it's all the members of Creed with Miles Kennedy on lead vocals. And so, Ethan, what are your thoughts on Alter Bridge?
Well, I'll tell you what. I hated Creed with the white hot intensity of 1,000 Suns. So, and mainly because of Scott Stapp, the lead singer, because he just said some of the douchiest things I've ever heard. But, you know, Miles Kennedy's like not a bad lead singer. I know he did some work with like Slash's Snakepit, right? Which is one of the bands we considered having on here, but removed. And then I didn't realize Miles Kennedy's a Spokane native. So that gave me like a little more love for the guy. Wow. I didn't know that. But when I kind of just heard about like how the band went down and like they had to like go over like a whole lawsuit from fans because Scott Stapp was like so out of it and so drugged. I mean, I felt bad when I was kind of listening to some videos of kind of background.
He's like God. He's like all Jesus-like.
Yeah, and then but on top of it, he just kind of like fell apart and just made the band like guys that were best friends growing up from like forever, like couldn't stand even being in the same room anymore. And so they go and create Alter Bridge and just try to keep the magic alive. But I'll be honest, this band never really appealed to me. They're like Nickelback. They're just like, it's once again something very safe, formulaic, canned rock crap that just like isn't edgy at all and doesn't do anything interesting. And then they're very talented musicians, but it just never really did anything for me. But I mean, they had songs like Metalingus. I don't even know if I say that right. Watch Over You. But just like, you know, those songs, and I listen to them, I go, yeah, I remember hearing this on like, they have this like little rock station over in the Tri-Cities that plays a lot of like that kind of safe Nickelback style type rock and roll. And I'm just like, it's where I would expect to hear Alter Bridge. Yeah, not my cup of tea.
John, are you dry heaving? John, what are your thoughts on Alter Bridge?
They're actually, when I saw it was mostly Creed, I was pretty unsure what I was going to hear. But yeah, Miles's voice was a welcome addition, but it wasn't enough to make it stand out and make it feel anything great.
Yeah, no, to me, this band, it sounds like so many other bands from the 2000s era, post grunge, and it bugs me because I'm not a fan of that slick, perfect hard rock production. I don't like that. Metal is like, it's like, it should be kind of like, well, not as raw as punk, but I mean, come on, it shouldn't be like all polished like this, right? I mean, grunge wasn't that polished. That's what made grunge like real. Like a lot of those songs that they did in, the grunge years were, they did it in a room together. It sounds like these guys can like do it, like how they do music now, or just like, hey, like we're doing this. It's like, okay, now do the bass, John. I don't know. It's just, it's that new style of music that it's just, I don't know.
Like pop and hard rock. It's like, to me, it's like pop friendly. Something's supposed to be popular and maybe make, it's just, but like you said, it's almost like some corporate goons that are like just puppeting this stuff to it. So it's not too edgy. Never going to really be anything too scary there. But that's like all the fun and all the danger is taken out of it. So what makes it
safe.
When everything is too perfect, it's kind of like annoying. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, all right, let's move on. Next up, we have the mix of prog rockers here. Formed in 1981. The name of the group is Asia. Steve Howe and Jeff Downs of Yes, and Carl Palmer of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and John Wetton of King Crimson and Uriah Heep. So, so this band, they had some pretty big hits back in the day. The Heat of the Moment is the big one. Only Time Will Tell and Soul Survivor, also from 1982. And their follow-up had a song that was, it charted probably just because anticipation. But anyway, Johnny, what are your thoughts on the band Asia?
The only thing I could think of that was relevant to the actual band was that Heat of the Moment was a song that people knew. That's it. So I said a few members from Yes got together to make music that makes me say no. But
golden.
If you go to John, he was from Uriah Heep. And the only thing I could think about that was my stepdad Robin had an album of theirs, and I always thought it sounded like another way to say poop. Hey, Mon, I'm going to go make a Uriah Heep.
They had a couple of hits. Well, rock radio hits.
Cool album covers.
Yeah. Ethan, what do you think of the band Asia?
It's just that synth pop 80s style or something. I don't even know if that's the right genre to really class it in. Like the couple songs I recognize, I might even remember seeing like a video on MTV, being raised by cable because my parents, God bless their hearts, were just leaving me to my own devices. And so I remember those pieces, but that's really about it. Like,
it's definitely pop rock, Yeah.
It's just like very 80s to me.
Right.
Very genre specific.
Generic 80s.
Yeah. This is one of those bands that I think that Danny Marsh and company enjoyed. Maybe that's the reason why he married his wife. What's her name again?
Asia. It's Asia.
Oh, boom.
Look what you did there, Joshua.
Yes.
Illuminati is confirmed.
Yeah. Again, this band, to me, I like this band better than the other previous bands, but again, it's pretty generic, very, very 80s specific, and lots of
not even good. Not even like Duran Duran good. Like Duran Duran. We'll get
that song, Only Time Will Tell always reminds me of like a Rocky IV song or something like that. Is that on Rocky IV?
The cheesy canned 80s movie music. Yes, I totally.
Yeah, that's like one of those errors. I don't know if John, we used to go through those rock encyclopedia books, and there was they cited that the final countdown was in the soundtrack to Rocky IV. And I was like, that's kind of impossible because that came out the year after Rocky IV came out. So I'd circle that. There we go. I like finding errors in rock books. All right, let's move on. Okay. All right.
Finally a good band.
Next up,
Yes.
So next up here, formed in 2001 after Zach Della Rocha quit Rage Against the Machine, and the rest of the band wanted to continue on and rock, but needed a singer. And the man who came in to fill that void, Ethan, well, he was none other than the great
Chris Cornell.
Chris Cornell. So Ethan, what are your thoughts on Audioslave?
I loved them from the first time I heard them. Like, you knew this was going to be interesting. Just because, let's be honest, when Rage was making music, Tom Morello, Brad Wilk, Tim Comerford, I mean, they're amazing musicians, but they were making more of like hip hop music with traditional instrumentation. Like, I mean, but not traditional style at all. I mean, it sounded like hip hop music. It was amazing. But then you bring in a real singer, and Tom Morello said he was terrified out of his mind. He had to go out and learn how to play real music to try to complement what was the greatest rock singer he's ever encountered. And so I was so intrigued to hear it. And then when you first get to Cochise, the first track off that first album, and you just got the loud kind of grinding dun dun dun,
so great,
all the weird, and all of a sudden that riff hits, and like Morello can just, I mean, even in Rage, there were some riffs there that are just, world class, one of a kind. I mean, that album just was amazing. And then the really cool kind of spooky, semi-religious lyrics throughout that first album too were really fascinating too. I looked at some stuff that made me think, like, I know Chris married a woman that was Eastern Orthodox, and I think he was exploring that side of the church and spirituality, and so he was intrigued by it. And so, I don't know, it was just a lot of cool, I mean, Chris writes lyrics like no one else and has a voice like no one else, but then you put one of the coolest bands that's just really kind of unique in their sound like nothing else. I mean, how does that not work on every level?
That's awesome, man. Yeah.
So I got to see them live at Lollapalooza in Auburn when they tried to reboot that.
That's
and
cool.
That was an amazing show. And it's just, it's definitely one of the better bands we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah. I got to see them in between Soundgarden and Audioslave. So yeah, I didn't get to see Audioslave, but Johnny, what do you think? What are your thoughts on Audioslave?
I mean, first of all, no one can say enough praise about Chris Cornell. He's got to be the best pop rock singer of the last 50 years plus, maybe.
Yeah, he's great.
His voice is
insane,
matched. Yeah,
iconic.
So this is kind of crazy, but up until researching this list, I didn't really like Audioslave because I only ever heard the overplayed stuff at work. So I would hear those songs like 5 times a day on commercial radio, 5-10 times a day. And it was the same 3 songs. But listening to these other songs on the list, and even more after that, they really started to grow on me, and I'm a big fan now. So
yeah, they're awesome, man.
Gasoline, Shadow of the Sun, those songs really stand out.
Show Me How to Live.
Yeah. Oh God,
definitely.
Yeah,
at first, I think the 2 biggest hits, Tom Morello's guitars, his solos were just kind of like Rage Against the Machine solos, nothing exciting. But later on, I could tell they really grew and got fantastic. So yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of this group now.
Yeah, Ethan, I remember the rumors about this band being formed back when you were in college, and I think I remember. It's funny because I remember us all sitting around, and I don't know if you were the one that told me, but you're like, dude, did you hear the news? And I was like, no, because here's why I remember this so much, because what did I always say about Rage?
You couldn't stand Zach Della Rocha's voice.
I wasn't, it wasn't that.
Hey, I was there too. It took me a while. It took a while. It was a slow burn.
I love the message. I love the music, but just his constant, family. Yeah. No, it's kind of like, I don't know. I could listen to a song or two, but then it's just like, all right, man. All right. But when you, I'm guessing, I don't know. I'm guessing it was because you would always follow this stuff, but I did too. I was like in the music industry at that point too. So who knows who told who, but anyway.
I want to say you may have said something to me, Josh, because I swear you gave me
it could be
the first single because of the station or whatever that was of Cochise, and that was like its own little separate disc.
Oh, really?
That still,
yeah, it could be.
The only person I could think of that would have had that connectivity at that period of life would have been you, man.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah. I mean, like, but anyway, I just remember like when I heard the buildup of that, I'm like, oh my God, like the greatest, probably the greatest singer from the era joining one of my favorite bands, like as far as like the music. Oh God, Tom Morello's just amazing. The whole band is awesome. They're tight. They're awesome. Yeah. When I heard that they were going to be joining together, I was like, geez, man, this is awesome. So I will never forget this. Lee, I think it was Lee. We were going downtown Seattle, and it was I don't know if you guys are familiar with Ozzy's. Is like a karaoke bar down there. Big karaoke bar. It always wins like best karaoke bar of Seattle, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, walking, we'd park, and then we'd walk by this like little Mexican restaurant called Pesos. And we stopped into Pesos because it's kind of like let's get a couple drinks on the way to, Ozzy's. Well, we'll close it out at Ozzy's. So we like stop at Pesos. And I don't know, it was like somebody in the bar that was like working there, or if they were, a friend of the bartender or the owner or something like that. They just got the CD in. And what they did was they're like, we're going to turn it up over the speakers in the bar, dude. And everybody's just kind of like communally, like sitting around, like listening to the whole album that just came out.
So cool.
Awesome, dude. Awesome experience. And I was like, dude, this is amazing. That first album is so good, dude. I was like,
song for song.
It was so good. So I'll always have that memory in the head here. So but yeah. All right. Audioslave. So yeah, that's definitely, I think collectively that's the first band that we all think that is very deserving, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So moving on. Okay. We have another big one. Lee's personal favorite band. These guys are a combination of the groups Free. They sing that song, all right now, baby. And Mott the Hoople. All the young dudes. and King Crimson. They came up on the list again here. So formed in 1973, the band is Bad Company with the legendary Paul Rogers on vocals and Mick Ralphs on guitar. So big classic rock staple. So John, what are your thoughts on Bad Company?
It's a famous band that I don't like.
Wow, John. Wow.
I almost just spit out my water.
I think it reminds me too much about White Trash Roots.
Your White Trash. definitely a blue collar band.
Drinking beers.
Sounds awesome to me.
Yeah, it does, but I don't know.
John's like, reminds me of good times. I hate it. I like weird times.
Yeah, I mean, but who names one of their greatest hits after themselves?
I don't know.
Come on, man. It's like wearing a t-shirt with a picture of yourself on it.
There's a couple of bands that have done that in the past, I think, right? I think there's
going
a couple
through
of
this
bands.
list. There's probably 4 on here, and I'm like, what's wrong, guys, man? You can come up with all this stuff, but you can't come up with one original name. Come on. At least put part 2 on it or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay. So mine's
particular band.
No, I know they're a really good group. I don't like them personally, but I respect their abilities and their success.
Huge band of the 70s. Huge.
Yeah, there's a few groups on this list that I personally don't like, but
that's why we're having this discussion.
Yeah.
You're representing the Lee Olsen over here.
Yeah, that's right. I told you that too.
It's awesome. Well,
I'm telling you, this is a band that I was fascinated because obviously just a ton of their songs, and it's like you said, they're just like classic rock staples. In fact, I wrote that down here in my notes. It's kind of like, man, listen to a classic rock radio station for an hour, and you've got to hear probably at least one song by Bad Company.
Yeah,
and a lot of them I like. I mean, given they're overplayed maybe sometimes on classic rock stations,
right? As classic rock stations are just like overplaying everything.
But I was really impressed to hear about like the whole story about so they had the same manager, and I know you know all this stuff, Josh, because you're an encyclopedia, but the same manager as Zeppelin, right?
Yeah.
And because Zeppelin had made it so big in the States, Yeah, and
Same
he's
label,
a
too.
scary
Yeah.
bastard apparently. But he knew such like integral parts of like touring, how to make it big in America. Like they were saying, it's one of the few bands of that time that really crossed over from England. That, because I mean, how many of these bands that you read about that are on this list that were English that
Peter
took
Green?
forever to
Yeah.
break it? Yep, Peter Green.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just interesting to see, like, that's why they're so well known in America and considered such classic rock staples that a lot of people don't even realize they have an English background. You know, it's like, I don't know that I knew that, to
I
be
didn't
honest.
know that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. It just shows, like, once again, you got the right management too, where that can take you. Because I mean, obviously Zeppelin's a legend, but this is pretty amazing stuff too.
Is that guy still alive? Can I hire him?
I just can't believe John doesn't like the song. Johnny was a schoolboy when he heard his first Beatles song.
Bam, bam, bam. Don't you know?
It almost gets me, but
John doesn't like.
Reminds me too much of Tom Petty's.
What about? It reminds you of Tom. Wouldn't it be in the other way around? Because no. What about John feels like making ding 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 ding. No,
dude, that might be with his hand, and that's not as fun.
I don't feel like it. I am making love.
I can see John like dry heaving again. Okay. All right. Let's move on. All right. Let's move on. So here we go. Up next, we have a combination of two, like, kind of chick bands. All right. So formed in 1987, it's a combination of the Babies and Journey. So you have John Waite of the Babies on lead vocals, and
the Babies.
Yeah, and then you have from Journey of Neil Schon and Jonathan Cain. Neil Schon on guitar, Jonathan Cain on keyboards.
Oh, my two favorite guys from Journey.
The supergroup is Bad English. So yeah, their big hit single was When I See You Smile, which reached #1 on the top US 100. So check this out. This is funny. Journey. They've had a million hits, right? They never had a #1 hit. But Bad English has a #1.
Crap sack gets a #1 hit. Wow. Amazing.
I think Journey hit like #2 or something like that. But anyway, but yeah, so yeah, they were more success. It's so ridiculous, the charts. Okay. Anyway, Ethan, I know that you listened to a lot of Journey back in the day with Brent.
Yeah.
What do you think of Bad English?
Okay, first off, Supergroup. Doesn't someone have to know who the hell the Babies are to care about members coming from the Babies? I mean,
what is that big hit? Well, they had a big hit. What was that?
Sure. Just like this band won, and that was it, and that nobody else cares about them after that. I mean, is that what we're talking about? Because this is a one-hit wonder if you've ever heard of one. Well, tell me another song that they made that even got near the top of the chart.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
I mean, I know because I wrote it down, but I
listened to the rest of these songs. Well, I've never heard of this. I mean, clearly everybody's heard, that When I See You Smile. I mean, but once again, what a bunch of soft rock garbage. It's just like some corporate.
Celebrate their entire collection?
No, I don't. I line my birdcage with it.
Excuse me, John. What do you think, man?
Well, maybe they got a cool funk cover somewhere. You never know.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Reggae. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
The only thing I got on this band, as I said, some Journey members got together because they realized they could make even worse music.
Oh, jeez. I like these little zingers you come up with.
John,
I'm done.
When I think about this band, I think of like us listening to this era. Remember, like we talked about, was it Alias? I don't know. We were talking about one of those earlier.
Yeah.
But when we were listening to the music that was on the radio at the time, these kids like today, I don't know. I mean, I think pop is like a huge thing now. Like, it's always big, but like this was the pop rock stuff back in the day that we'd have to like endure. But the thing is, this almost like kind of like probably pushed people like John and I into classic rock. We're like, fucking, this sucks, man. What else is there? Oh shit. Like there's some like actual good music out there. Let's check that out. So like, I don't know. I think that, that's what I can find the good out of this band is we heard this and it drove us to listen to other stuff. And Ethan's probably the same way with, metal. He's like, God damn, like I'm going the exact opposite. Like
gangster after metal is so
terrible. You're so terrible. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on.
Terrible.
This is awesome. All right. Okay. So Okay, moving on to this is like the number 7 on our list here. So we got a ways to go here. All right, so one of the many supergroups that Eric Clapton was a part of. This next one is basically a combination of Traffic and Cream. Formed in 1969, the band is Blind Faith, which included Eric Clapton on guitar, Ginger Baker on drums, who were both from Cream, and on lead vocals, they had Steve Winwood. So, John, what are your thoughts on Blind Faith?
Well, I do like some of their stuff. It's really good. The pedophiles love this album.
Oh.
They're because of their topless 11-year-old girl.
Oh God, that is so disturbing.
What the fuck were they thinking?
Oh yeah, dude. Like I think I've told you guys this before. Like I've posted that Led Zeppelin "Houses of the Holy" before. I'm like, I love the song, and I post the song, not like I just post the album cover, the song, and like I get flagged for like child like porn. I'm like, whoa, I am not a child. This is horrible. Yeah, and then they suspend me, and I'm like, dude, really? Like, okay, all right, yeah. But they actually released this at like, they were like, this is a great idea. Let's post a topless adolescent child on.
What are you talking about? I said I would rather look at John Lennon and Yoko Ono's bushes.
Ugh, God, the Two Virgins album. Nice.
Can I get a third option, please?
No.
Oh, all right. Well.
Why not go out and buy Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass's Whipped Cream album like the rest of us pervs?
Yes, she's from Seattle too. She's from Seattle. Yeah.
I did like Find Your Way Home though.
Sure, yeah, that's a classic. Yeah.
It reminds me of this modern dude. His name is Jose Gonzalez. He's a pretty chill dude, but he's got some good music.
Awesome, dude.
And I pretty much said Eric Clapton get fucked for stealing George Harrison's wife. The end.
It's such a weird relationship. He's like, and they remained best friends. They're like, well, look, it's just a woman. I'm like, yeah, but you were married to her, and then he married her. Like, I don't know. Anyway, whatever that chick had, man, like she inspired some great music. Probably the great, whatever you call those girls. Yeah, Muse. Yeah. So, Ethan, what do you think of this band? Blind Faith.
First off, I was like, and I must have done some of these in reverse order in my research. I'm like, good God, how many supergroups did Eric Clapton get in and then kill after an album?
Yeah.
I mean, my Lord, this guy's got like
the one offer. Yep.
more butt than a toilet seat here, and it's just with bandmates. It's just like, but I mean, when I was listening to
difficult dude, man.
He's like obviously a treble genius.
Yeah.
I was kind of pumped there. I was like, Steve Winwood. I remember that hit making machine of the late 80s.
Yeah. Bring me up all your love.
Oh, dude.
So I couldn't tell if this was a longer or shorter version of one of his supergroups, but all in all, like the little bit I heard was pretty good. I mean, it was never a band that I really had on my radar prior to that. Apparently I can't keep up with the 27 groups that Eric Clapton started. So
Right. Yeah. No. So you know what's funny is Steve Winwood, man. Do you know that guy? So that guy was from the Spencer Davis group. And
great
do you guys know he's like one of those guys that was like he was 15 years old when he sang that song. He sounds like he's like a 50-year-old black guy like singing that song. He's like, give me some loving, give me some loving. He was like, wow, dude, what the hell? Yeah, it's kind of like that guy from Silverchair. He's like,
oh yeah, yep,
yeah, the Tomorrow, whatever. Yeah, so it's kind of like that. But anyway, so yeah, Blind Faith. It's like, again, it's just a one-off kind of like album. I think it's kind of like more like a side project. But yeah, so anyway, let's move on. All right, so number eight. This band's one of these super groups that the names are probably bigger than the actual band or the music. Formed in 2008. The band is Chickenfoot. So we have Sammy Hagar on vocals and Michael Anthony on bass, both from Van Halen, whoever the hell they are. Van Halen. And Joe Satriani on guitar and Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers on drums. So Ethan, thoughts on Chickenfoot?
Well, okay, so clearly whenever this came out, I might have been under rock because I thought like, I remember hearing a little bit about this, but like, I thought not much notoriety, but maybe you're saying like that maybe it was more for the name of the band. Like, I had no idea.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, you're like, I don't really know anything. Yeah, neither do we, but there's such a big supergroup that they had like kind of a hit, like, I guess. Like,
well, when I listened to a couple different songs, like all of it was pretty catchy. Like it was kind of formulaic. I mean, it was like, hey, it almost sounded like they were covering classic rock songs. And then I realized these aren't covers, but I mean, you could tell a lot of it was very borrowed. And Satriani is obviously a very talented guitarist, but
they're having fun.
Yeah, I can't remember anything Satriani ever, that did in terms of like his own solo stuff that was really super impressive or standout that everyone could tell he's a virtuoso and very talented. But no, they were fun to listen to. Sadly, I think one of the more popular things from based on what I was reading was a cover that they did for a Machine Head tribute album of literally Highway Star. And I mean, that song kicks ass, but that was probably like one of the things that got more radio play or anything. I was like, well, that's kind of sad. But I guess that kind of sums it up in a nutshell there. What Chickenfoot? I mean, come on, man. You could have come up with a better name than that. Quit hanging out at Sammy's little Mexican villa and just drinking too much tequila and coming up with weird shit like that, and you've probably been better off.
Right. Yeah. John, how about you, man? What do you think of Chickenfoot? Anything? Any thoughts on Chickenfoot?
Well,
what do they smell like,
of
John?
Chickens,
God.
I like chicken feet, and I want to hang out and drink tequila with Sammy Hagar. Well, not with Sammy Hagar.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Yes.
I'd like to drink privately with some Sammy Hagar's tequila.
Oh, yeah. The, what's it? The Cabo Wabo or whatever. Yeah.
You use a little Chickenfoot to.
Yeah. Oh, check this out, man. When I was a kid, my grandpa used to send me the weirdest shit in the mail. He sent me 2 chicken feet once in the mail.
What the?
I played with them too. I'd walk them around on the countertops. Are you
from a voodoo family?
It's like that time that you had
probably
that you had like that what was that mercury, and you're pushing it across the table. You're like, and then you found out you're like, oh, that stuff gives you cancer. And I'm like, oh my God, like you didn't know this?
I'm still waiting for the cancer, dude. I think about that like at least once a week.
Maybe the chicken feet warded it off from some voodoo spell.
Well, I'm making up for it now. I got chickens and I treat them right.
Well, John, I'm saying the fact that you were shipped chicken feet by your grandpa or something, that explains a lot about just your amazing weirdness and why we love you so much.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a great fact to learn about.
It didn't start with me.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I would back to Chickenfoot. I actually really liked Sammy Hagar, how he sang with this group. I preferred the way he sang than with Van Hagar.
Whoa.
I mean, I'm sure there's a few songs of Van Hagar that I probably preferred, but all I can think of is the one about aliens, and it was a ballad, and it was terrible.
What?
I don't know, dude. It was about aliens.
Oh, okay. God, I'm trying to rack my head, but
yeah, go to Google.
Oh, okay.
I'm probably wrong. I don't know.
No, but I just probably can't think of it.
Is this like you're just general mishearing of Van Halen lyrics? Because weren't you the guy that thought he said reach down between his legs and ease a seed bag?
Seed bag.
Yeah, a seed bag.
I tell people like that to this day.
Adjusting his testes. That's one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
Yeah. I've been thinking that since I was probably 10.
Well, maybe it's not a song about aliens, John. Maybe it's a song about something else, but you assumed about aliens.
Settling on Uranus, maybe.
Oh, God. All right. Yeah. So, okay.
All right. No, wait. I got one more thing.
All right. Trying to reel this in here.
I did enjoy Satriani playing in a non-instrumental setting because Satriani was basically an instrumental artist. Yeah. So that was nice, actually, hearing him play in a group that actually had vocals and stuff. So
I actually heard a interview with Sammy, and he was talking about that. He said Satriani is technically a better guitarist than Eddie Van Halen. The difference is Eddie Van Halen could write songs. So there's a lot of guitarists, that are, I mean, you see these guys on YouTube, they're just crazy insane, but it's like, they're like robots. They're like, you're like, oh, Jesus Christ. But yeah,
create something original.
Yeah. Can you write something? Yeah. So that was the genius of Eddie. But yeah, the music to me, it's good. It's just, it doesn't blow my mind or anything like that. Yeah, when I hear this like band, kind of like all of Sammy's stuff after Van Halen. Actually, the first couple albums right after Van Halen were pretty good, but like after that, it's just kind of like I'm just here to party, man. Like let's just have fun and jam and party. Like I'll just hang out with my friends, and I think now he has like Jason Bonham as his drummer and whatever band that he's doing. But anyway, all right, let's move on.
Yes, please.
Up next is a band that essentially started it all, the whole supergroup craze.
Yeah.
Formed in 1966. This band, the name of this group is Cream, one of the first power trios in rock. The members included Eric Clapton of the Yardbirds on guitar and vocals, Jack Bruce on bass and vocals, and Ginger Baker, the crazy, insane Ginger Baker on drums. Is everybody that's a drummer crazy, or is it just anyway? From the Graham Bond organization. So I've heard Howard Stern talk about how he was pretty upset when these guys broke up, and these guys were a big deal back in the day, big deal, and they were definitely just a '60s band. Broke up, I think it was like late '68, and they released an album like after, like came out like early '69 or something like that. But Johnny, what are your thoughts on Cream?
This is easily my favorite Eric Clapton supergroup, of which he's had, I don't know, 5, 6, 7.
Never laughed the longest.
Yeah, I was going to say this is one of the world's first supergroups, or at least in the United States.
But is this a supergroup, you guys?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know they are now, and the respect they have and the things they did after, but when I'm reading everything, like the two guys besides Clapton were barely known from their other groups. And I said, like,
yeah,
they were barely even known in the UK. It's just, but everyone knew Clapton.
I've heard of Man for Band.
Yeah.
But not the
did you hear about
Graham
it
Bond
before or
organization.
after? Okay.
Is that, do they, are they bounty hunters or what?
I just know Ginger Baker is always revered as like, when I don't know if you guys have ever checked that guy out. Like, I mean, he's awesome, man. Like,
but isn't most of his notoriety from Cream and then the stuff he did afterwards, though? Not so much the stuff before. Or
there's a documentary. I don't know if any of you guys have seen this documentary about that guy. That guy's like, he was crazy, dude. I mean, like legit, like, no, he was like, people, there's like so many stories about him just going off and like, like just going crazy. And he like just kind of like essentially quit the music business and like went to Africa to live in Africa. And you're like, what? Wait a minute. He like just went to Africa? I'm like, oh, all right, that's interesting. So yeah, he lived down there for decades. So it's weird. Like, I don't know. That guy, it was funny. The guy that was doing the documentary, he was always getting stuff thrown at him and stuff. He's like all ducking. And that's how it starts. It starts with the guy with Ginger Baker screaming at him and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah. So definitely check that documentary out if you want to learn more about that guy. That guy's nuts, man. But
they were a very versatile group, though. They had their toes in psychedelic music, blues music, pop music, soul music. Yeah. And
they had a couple big really
song, Swallober.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's pronounced, but I was always trying to wonder what it meant without looking it up. I made up my own
oh no.
my own anagrams. So I'm thinking it was either she was like a bearded rainbow.
Yeah.
Or maybe
close,
it was maybe it was soft legumes are better refried. Maybe. What do you think?
Well, he says in the doesn't he say in the song, because the rainbow has a beard or something like that? It's like, it's something like
exactly.
that. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Have you looked close enough? Come on.
Oh, you're agreeing with the song. John, are you on LSD like now or?
I wish. Actually, I don't know, because
John, you do not need to do LSD.
Yeah. That's probably going to be bad.
Oh, that's awesome. Ethan, how about you, man? What are your thoughts on Cream?
My dad loved Cream. He played the Cream for me all the time.
Oh, that's not a good sign.
No, it's good. Like, I don't have bad feelings. Yeah. No, the only thing that like was burnt that like ruined me was Frank Zappa, because I just didn't know what was going on with that. That was just like, I thought maybe Satan was trying to drill a hole in my head with that music. But
that's tough.
Yeah, Cream is they were legit. My dad was a huge fan of Clapton and everything he did, so he well versed me in Cream. So no, I've got nothing but good thoughts and good vibes for Cream, and I know that it does seem like they were a big deal, but it was shocking to me because like everything I looked at, they didn't mention a lot of the stuff before, but I was probably just looking in the wrong places.
Yeah, they're definitely a big band of the 60s. Yeah, tons of hits. Especially that they were together for a couple of years, 3 years, something like that. 66, 67, 68. So yeah, they had awesome songs. And again, if you guys get the chance, watch. And it's funny because that guy's not like he's not one of those speed drummers or anything like that. But the stuff he does on the drums, it's kind of like where they talk about. Who's like a lot of people are really studying what Ringo Starr did with the drums. Yep. And Ringo always gets a lot of, because like Ringo is like he's easy to like rip on in the group because he didn't write any of the songs, right? He like wrote like a couple songs or whatever.
Octopus's Garden. And
probably had a couple of those songs like, were with heavy help from, the other guys. But anyway, so he always gets ripped on for that. But that guy like really did some like crazy, interesting stuff with the drums. And definitely Ginger Baker is one of those guys that did really cool stuff with the drums. So definitely check that out. Obviously, Eric Clapton was known as the guitar god back then. And Jack Bruce, he's no slouch either. So anyway, let's move on. Number 10 on the list. This one, this next one is a supergroup who I like, but I almost think they fit in the category of being bigger names than the songs. I don't know. So anyway, formed in 2009, the Crooked Vultures, comprised of Dave Grohl of the Foo Fighters and Nirvana, John Paul Jones of Led Zeppelin. It's like, geez, wow, okay. And Josh Homme of the Queens of the Stone Age and Eagles of Death Metal. Ethan, what are your thoughts on them Crooked Vultures?
Well, and a little-known fact is also Alain Johannes is a big part of the instrumentation. He doesn't get credit, but he was on the touring band with them and helped write stuff. He's awesome, too, because he's played with 1,000 different bands. I love them Crooked Vultures. Like, this was one of those supergroups that I had no idea was coming. And then I had my nephew that I got into a lot of this kind of cool music. And he goes, Ethan, have you heard this? And so it is. It's weird. It's like, it's not necessarily, it doesn't sound like any of the grunge stuff Grohl or those guys did. I mean, it sounds like some sort of weird lost psychedelic hard rock album, especially if you get into some of the other like deeper tracks. Cause I know like New Fang was pretty popular and got played on some rock stations, but like there's songs like Gunmen, Bandoliers, and Elephants that are just like,
there's definitely some interesting stuff on there.
Super cool. Like,
and I think that's where like the John Paul Jones like comes into play too. Cause like that guy did some interesting stuff and probably brought a lot of that.
A lot of just cool instrumentation, like 4 or 5 pieces kind of mixed together of songs that are like longer, like 5-6 minute songs on some of these. One of the best songs ever, John, if you haven't listened to it, John, this is right up your alley. It's called An Interlude with Ludes. And it is one of the funniest songs. He's like losing his mind and talking to this girl about, hey, like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I brought all my knives and I can't wait to show them to you. And like, this is like the weirdest thing. It is just the funniest thing, but it's bizarre. I love this. And just like, so bummed that I didn't get a chance to see these guys live because clearly they've only put out the one album and they've hinted and talked about doing more all the time.
Well, they're also live.
They loved it. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, how couldn't you, man? You got Grohl on drums where he belongs. Mm-hmm. You've got Josh Homme, I'm a huge Queens of the Stone Age fan, obviously, and just love like just the super cool, edgy guitar stuff he does. But then, like you said, John Paul Jones is just like one of the greatest musicians, but just such a chill, humble, amazing guy. And like watching interview, the whole thing's good. It's one of those things that I think like the more I listened to it, the more I liked it. And it was one that I feel is like pretty strong album from start to finish, even if there wasn't a ton of those songs that maybe were huge commercial hits, but I don't think that's why they were doing it. Yeah. I don't think any of those guys give a rip. They love making music with their buddies more than anything. So
yeah, definitely better than some of the hits that we were talking about.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep.
John, what do you think of this band? Did you get to listen to any of these songs or any of the deep cuts or just kind of like the couple songs that we threw on there?
No, I picked on the hits and then a few of the deep cuts. I haven't listened to this band, but I was definitely excited by the lineup.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? It's like It's a big lineup.
My first thought was, sounds like Queen of the Stone Age, just because Josh Holmes' voice is so iconic. But I definitely enjoyed the stripped down version of the trio. It wasn't as much production as Queens of the Stone Age, so it was kind of nice to get that grittier feel. But there's this really sweet, funky clavy solo on Scumbag Blues.
Mm-hmm.
I
love
really
Scumbag
like
Blues.
that, dude.
Yeah.
I really dug it.
Queens of the Stone. Did you guys watch that documentary of the Eagles of Death Metal? Did you guys see that?
I haven't seen that one. Is that about the Bacalon Theater and everything they went through in France? I need to. Yeah, it's going to be hard.
Oof. Yikes. That's some heavy stuff there, man.
Yeah, that is.
But yeah, they talk about, obviously they talk about, Josh Homme and all the other stuff. I always get that Queens of the Stone Age song stuck in my head, man. That, what was it?
No One Knows?
Yep. That one. Yep.
Yeah. It's a great song, man. It's a killer
It's
riff.
so catchy, man. Yeah. So, good band. They only had that one album, right?
That's it.
Yeah. So one offer. Okay.
There's a few of those.
Yeah. There's quite a few of those.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like a side. It's definitely a side project. I mean, yeah. So, all right, let's move on.
Some good, some bad.
Yeah. And we're here to discuss them. Yeah. So, Ethan, were we gonna throw in?
Nah, we're okay. Prophets of Rage. Like the more they
You-
cover a
you-
bunch of rap
I forgot about
songs
that.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Let's,
okay. I mean,
let's
they're
touch
interesting.
on them real quick.
I like how you knew where I was going.
Yeah.
That's what I knew.
Yeah. So
I got
did you?
notes on them? Let's hit on them.
All right, brother. I saw you were listening.
Because we were talking about Audioslave, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like those guys they kind of like do their projects with different. It's kind of cool. Like I love all these bands that kind of just kind of intertwine, play around with everything.
Prophets of Rage, obviously, you got Be Real from Cypress Hill. You've got the legendary Chuck D, and they have a DJ that was from Public Enemy too, but it isn't.
How perfect is that, by the way? Right?
Terminator
Like
X.
he's like the king of that. That whole thing.
So that's a
Terminator
fact.
X.
You've got that incredible politically driven, and just I think the necessity of the 2016 election and them being clearly very liberal slant, political view and stuff like that. They just wanting to crusade back against what they felt was some of this, the hypocrisy and stupidity that was going on. And I mean, it's cool, but to me, some of the best stuff they do is when they're doing a cool rock version cover of an old Public Enemy song or an old Cypress Hill song. Some of the original stuff they write, it's not bad, but it's not amazing in my opinion. So as I went back and kind of reviewed, it's like, man, when most of the stuff they're doing is their best stuff is the old Public Enemy and Cypress Hill songs is being covered in kind of a rock rap way. I don't know that it really is impactful enough to cover, separately as a Supergroup. But compared to some of these bands,
worth a mention, right?
Yeah. What do you got, Johnny? Because you had notes on them, buddy.
Basically in the same group. I was so excited when I saw this lineup. I was like, oh my God, I can't wait. Chuck D taking over for Zach. It's going to be so much better. But it was okay. Just there. I mean, I liked the first song. I liked the second song. The third song, it was starting to get... I know if I read the lyrics, I'd probably get really excited, but just sonically, is that the word?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, it was just getting kind of old.
Repetitive a little, yeah.
They kind of sound like Public Enemy with Be Real as Flavor Flav, which is no comparison. That dude is a genius. And then they also sound like Rage Against the Machine slowed down without Zach De La Rocha.
Yeah,
but I'd love to see them like both those bands back to back, just because of their, I mean, Public Enemy, just what they stood for was very meaningful to me. I liked a lot of what Rage Against the Machine had to say. And we need more music like that, but pretty much kind of along what Ethan said.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, can I take a time out here? And I just want to thank John for the sign. John made the sign here.
You made that?
Is that amazing?
That's awesome. Well, I saw you got that sweet logo.
Yeah. So John, he's like, hey man, I'm gonna send you a sign. I'm like, Absolutely. That's awesome, dude. So I thank you. Thank you, John. Appreciate
The
it.
hardest part was trying to figure out how to ship it
Yeah.
without breaking the bank.
Well, it's awesome. I appreciate it, dude. That's so awesome. Love it.
Carrier
Love
pigeons, or what'd you go with, John?
I went with very strong emus.
Nice.
Okay.
Run it in.
Yep, I killed
right.
off the weak one, so rest in peace.
All right. So moving on here. Let's go. All right.
I'm in.
The next one's a pretty big one. Comprised of the bands The Hollies, The Byrds, and the Buffalo Springfield, formed in 1968. This group consists of the members David Crosby, Stephen Stills, and Graham Nash. And later they added Neil Young for their tour and second album. So, Johnny, what are your thoughts on Crosby, Stills, and Nash?
And I feel like this is one of the biggest definitions of a supergroup. If you go by the members' previous bands, I mean, they all came from pretty good bands. And then they created this new band, which was amazing.
Right.
Yeah, so each member brought their own weight to the group. I listened to everybody's solo albums, and of course, Stephen Stills was great. He was.
You listen to their
amazing.
solo albums like after or like during?
Yeah, well, I just looked them up on Spotify. I don't know if it was after or before, but they were definitely like, you could hear each piece of them. Like they were, except for Stephen Stills, because how good he was, like with musically and
Yeah.
But like David
Those other
Crosby,
Those other guys, like they don't even hide it. They're like, no. That like Stephen Stills was the genius on that first album because like he basically did all those songs.
Yeah.
And then the other guys came in and like sang.
Everybody else put their part down, but
yeah,
you could hear it on their solo. It's just like the Beatles. Like you listen to the Beatles solo stuff, and it's like some of it's really good, but most of it's like quarter as good as what the Beatles would do because there's 4 members. You split them up, it's freaking math, dude. But
it's crazy.
It's science.
Yeah, science. And I never understood why Neil Young was the godfather of grunge. I don't think of him when I listen to Nirvana, Mudhoney, Melvins. Was it just because he looked like a lumberjack? Flannel? I don't know.
I saw this documentary on Neil I almost called him Neil Diamond. Neil Young. And Neil Young, like he did, I don't know, like there's a lot of his albums that get lost in the mix, but he did some weird shit like back in the late 70s, early 80s. You're like, what the fuck? What is this? He's like, I love all that new wave stuff, like Flock of Seagulls and stuff. And I'm like, what? Neil Young? That's what's cool about him. Like he's open to anything. I love people that are really open to anything and will try anything. But you also got to love the the AC/DC of the world. Yeah. That'll just do the same thing.
Neil Young and Flock of Seagulls hurts my brain.
Ethan, what do you think, man? What do you think of the band Crosby, Stills, and Nash? And
I'd say what, like the music I've heard, it's all really solid. It's, to me, it's just more impressive that like, this. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is a super popular group through 3 different decades, and like their music stayed popular, even if it wasn't necessarily something they recorded new. Like the fact that it was still holding up 3 decades later and considered so classic. It's just like that just shows you right there just how timeless and how legitimate the musical arrangement and just what they did.
It's a good observation because that's a lot of like what they say about the Beatles is you listen to a Beatles song. I always tell people this. If you listen to the Beatles when their music was coming out and you listen to the other songs, put it next to the other songs that were coming out, you're like, good Lord. Wow. Now, the thing about the Beatles is they had that, that production wizard with George Martin, and they were able to make their music timeless. So like you can listen to it now. That's why kids like really like it now still, is they'll hear it and like, that's a really good song. And a lot of the songs that were out when the Beatles were out, some of them aren't so good songs, so that's what's cool about the Beatles. But yeah, this group is the famous thing was Neil Young. Why Buffalo Springfield kind of broke up. They kind of like butted heads. Stephen Stills wanted to be like the Beatles, and Neil Young wanted to be like Bob Dylan. So that kind of. But yeah. when they blew up with that first album, they're like, all right, guys, you ready for the tour? And they're like, the other two guys, like Crosby and Nash, they're like, I don't know if we could do all this, because like Stephen Stills like literally did all the guitars and stuff on that album. I don't know if we could do this. And then what's his name is like, I know a guy that we can get. Neil Young. So they got Neil Young to come in, and they're like, well, this is Crosby, Stills, and Nash. We'll make it Ann Young. How about that? So, yeah. So anyway, but yeah, they had massive hits. I mean, tons of great songs that lasted,
Speaking of Beatles and Crosby, Stills, and Nash Young, you ever hear the Blackbird cover?
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty good.
My favorite Beatle covers.
I think that they tried out for the Apple label. I'm not sure. I can't remember if I heard that wrong. I don't know. But yeah. Yeah. So it's funny because that band is like one of those bands that like fought a lot, but it's like their songs are all peaceful and stuff like that, and they're all like harmonizing and everything. But they're all like, "Fuck you, man! Like, fuck you!" It's like it's kind of like I don't know if it was Rick Rubin who was talking about. He goes, "Yeah, if you guys ever get to see that documentary of the Eagles," I think it was Rick Rubin who was talking about that. He's like, "Dude, the Eagles, they're all kind of like peaceful, easy feel, and then they're all like, fuck you, man." They're yelling at each other on stage and throwing guitars and stuff and like fist fighting at each other and stuff like that. He goes, they're like a punk group, but they're singing all these like, take it easy. It's funny, man. Music. I love all the like the stories of these groups and stuff like that. It's funny, but all right, let's move on. Next band on the list, formed in 1989. This one is a combination of the members of Styx and Night Ranger and the Motor City Madman himself, Mr. Ted Nugent. The band is Damn Yankees. Ethan, what are your thoughts on Damn Yankees?
For the longest time, all I heard was the stuff that got radio play, or like I've never seen a video for High Enough and stuff, and I'm just like,
yeah.
I mean, I can understand the appeal though. I mean, it was cool, kind of a classic rock feel coming out, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like early 90s is what I felt like is when but I found a song when I was kind of doing my little research on these guys that I'm like, this is kick ass. So if you haven't heard Pile Driver, it's the one song with explicit lyrics on the first album. It's like the last track. And it's just Nugent showing off like his guitar playing magic. Like it's awesome, called Pile Driver. Check it out. So then I was like,
definitely check it out.
Maybe there's some more to this band than I realized.
Oh, look at this guy over here. Yeah. Johnny, how about you, man? What do you think?
Well, the only thing I really got to go on is High Enough. The other stuff did not interest me, but I was really excited when I first heard about this band because I was excited to see what the Nuge was up to because, he's a pretty cool, like eccentric dude that
very
popular in the classic rock circles. And then I saw the music video.
Uh-oh. Oh God.
They all had the worst damn gas station sunglasses I have ever seen.
Gas stations.
You remember that?
Oh,
I thought their manager gave him a $20 bill and told him to go buy something cool for their music video. And they came back. I've never seen sunglasses like that. I hope they didn't pay a lot of money for them.
Your observations are just dynamite, man.
It's great. I could really care less about any of their songs except for I've always loved Coming of Age. I love that song. I think it's just a good rock song.
I better re-listen.
High Enough. High Enough. All right. I mean, it's like kind of like what we were talking about. It's like, it
wasn't like what you would expect from Nuge.
No.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. And what happened the next year, guys? Grunge. So
thank God.
Yeah. So again, that's why that's what we've been talking about. How some of these bands are like, it's like you're back in a barracuda in the corner. You're like, well, here comes grunge. He's gonna leap forward and attack you.
It's like the hitman from No Country for Old Men. He's just putting a bullet or that weird
God.
The bowl cut.
hold still. You're like, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Right through people's heads. All these bands that deserved it. Like, sorry, you're just done.
All right. Okay. Let's move
Sorry,
on.
that was a little dark.
Let's move on. All right. Next one off the list here. Just one album. Just another one of these one-off albums here. Formed in 1970, consisting of the members of Cream, Delaney and Bonnie, and the Allman Brothers Band. The group is Derek and the Dominos. So basically it's Derek is Eric, as in Eric Clapton. And
Genius.
I guess the story about this is he had this band, Delaney and Bonnie, who was opening up for Blind Faith on tour, and he loved how good they were live. Clapton actually wrote in his autobiography that they were miles better than us. And so when that band dissolved, he jumped at the chance to record with them. So that's how this band kind of like came about. And so one of the musicians was Duane Allman of the Allman Brothers. He's the one that does that that famous slide in Layla. So anyway, Ethan, what are your thoughts on Derek and the Dominos?
It's another one that my dad played a lot for me. And the crazy thing is, I don't know though. I think for the longest time I just thought Layla was a Clapton song. Like I had no clue that it was like Derek and the Dominos thing. Obviously the Allman Brothers are pretty badass too. Like I'll be honest, I have a lot of respect for the Allman Brothers.
Good musicians, man.
Yep.
Great musicians, but this is the sad thing too, is just the tragic collapse. Because it sounds like this wasn't one where just Eric Clapton blew it up for being a dick. This one sounds like because of like addiction and death and a bunch of things just tore this band apart. And so I was like, oh, it's kind of a bummer when I got into that. And Bill Bottom Blues is another one they get some recognition for. And I remember my dad, when I listened to that, I go, okay, this is definitely something my dad played me. I can recognize this. So yeah, I've got no bad vibes for that one. I mean, Layla is obviously a pretty kick-ass. There's just some incredible riffs in that and just music.
It's a good fellas.
Yeah.
How about you, Johnny?
I just want to say it once again.
Uh-oh.
Fuck Eric Clapton for stealing George's wife. Layla was about George's wife, so
yeah,
double F.
Wow.
Yeah. Did you guys ever see that documentary of Eric Clapton? Came out a couple of years ago.
No.
Jesus Christ, don't watch it, man. If you want to be depressed and sad and like,
no, I'm good.
It's
So
like the
bad you
biggest
jump
downer
out the
I've ever
window
seen.
as a little kid?
Oh God, dude,
Was
it's
that a
Oh
dark
my
joke?
god.
it's literally
It's
one bad thing after another,
Right in
like
the heart.
over and over. It's so, oh my God, it's so bad. I don't usually not recommend documentaries, but oof.
Hey,
Yeah,
check
John,
out
I
this.
crossed the line.
Don't check out this recommendation.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think Eric should have had himself an open relationship with any old band that wanted to form a supergroup.
Right.
He got passed around more than me, allegedly.
Whoa.
Halloween in San Francisco.
Whoa. What we're
Legend.
gonna save
What
this for
story's going on here?
we're
Yeah.
gonna
What?
save this one. All right.
What are you talking
That's
about
his
now?
own podcast.
Did I say that?
Oh God, that's a teaser for the next time John's gonna be on. Let me write this down. Okay, so you know what I think is crazy about this band, literally, is the drummer. Do you guys know about the story about the drummer of this band?
You and your drummers.
Did he choke on
It's
his
not
own
me and
vomit?
the drummers. It's the drummers and the drummers. So this one's nuts, guys. So this guy, his name's Jim Gordon, and he's a famous drummer. He's like he's drummed on tons and tons of things. And and when I
Like a
say
session
crazy,
musician?
he's a drummer. Yeah. So
Okay.
but when I say crazy, Ethan, I mean legit crazy, nuts, right? So this dude, yeah, he played with everyone from like the Beach Boys, Alice Cooper, Neil Diamond, John Lennon, Steely Dan, Crosby, Stills and Nash, like a million others,
Dang,
right?
dude.
So
Wow.
this guy, he always dealt with serious mental health issues, right? Have you guys ever heard of Rita Coolidge, like the singer Rita Coolidge? Anyway,
Yeah.
that was his girlfriend back in the 70s, in the early 70s, I guess. He like punched her in the face, like backstage or something like that. I think that was the story. And yeah, I think that ended their relationship. But it's like, he just hauls off and punches like his girlfriend in the face. Okay. So that's where it starts. Right. So, but fast forward to 1983, he heard these voices in his head. That's never a good sign, is it, Josh or John?
I
Or
don't know.
Josh.
Depends
Talking
on
to
the
your own
voice.
voices, Josh?
So he heard these voices and they told him to kill his mom.
Oh boy.
So he takes
Never to take a crap on the salad bar at Wendy's.
he takes out a hammer and he beats his mom to death with a hammer.
I got go.
and stabs her to death with a butcher knife.
Holy crap, dude.
Yeah, that's some serious Friday the 13th shit right there.
Oh, mommy didn't hug him enough.
Yeah, so he's been
Or too many
denied
times.
parole like 10 times. So, but anyway, that's Derek and the Dominos, kids. All right, let's move on.
That's what the Bell Bottom Blues are.
Yeah, exactly. Holy moly. Okay. All right.
I got the Bell Bottom Blues now.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. So next on our list, formed in 1970 out of London, England. The band is Emerson, Lake, and Palmer. So we have Keith Emerson on keyboards, who is from the group called The Nice. And then you had Greg Lake, who's from King Crimson on guitar, and Carl Palmer on drums. He came from that band, The Crazy World of Arthur Brown. You guys know that song?
The well-known band.
You ever saw that Fire? Fire? Like, I don't know. It's a big one-hit wonder. Anyway,
Okay.
so anyway, the group is Emerson, Lake, and Palmer, and to me, they're one of those bands that everybody knows, but nobody knows them. So like you know a lot of their songs, but there's like 5 songs that everybody knows, but because they're heavily played, but you probably couldn't pick them out. But Johnny, what are your thoughts on ELP, Emerson, Lake, and Palmer?
So I do have a memory of this, but first I'm going to say, raise your hand if you love ELP progressive rock. I'm not raising my hand, dude.
You're not a big ELP guy?
No, I know they're famous. I hear people talking good stuff about them, but my only memory of this group was it was so hard to mix the levels on Lucky Man. When we make our mixtapes and it'd get to that freaking synth solo. Oh, dude.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It would spike so hard, and we're
that's
like,
where the radio station. That's where the compressors come in at the radio stations. When you, I always tell people, I go, why music sounds so good on the radio is because it compresses everything to the same kind of like level. So like you're like, how come it doesn't sound like that in my headphones when I buy the CD? It's like because of the compressors, like it fixes everything. But yeah, so
actually, there was I just remember there's an even better memory was fanfare for the common man.
Oh yeah,
that was a pretty tight tune.
Oh yeah,
it was used as a theme song for that WrestleMania where Bill Clinton matched up and defeated Big Bazoocifer.
Oh god, this is awesome.
Sounds like one of your great like basement movies. Is that what we're talking about here?
Oh yeah, it is.
It was in the basement, but it was actually in Josh's front yard.
Right.
Oh, nice. Classics.
Oh my god. All right.
And did you know that I looked up their former groups and I was like, who are the gods? So I looked up the gods and there was this terrible cover of Hey Bulldog that was like heavy in the horn section, and that sounds like it'd be good, but it wasn't.
John, you love when it's heavy in the horns.
I do.
Yeah, like Chicago. All right.
Yeah.
Ethan, how about your thoughts, man?
Okay, what I've got on this is I don't know that. I mean, I heard of the band. I probably know a couple of their songs. Where they came to my attention is I don't know if you guys have Apple Plus or Apple TV, but like I was watching that amazing series, the Watch the Sound, that the Ronson guy who produces all the music, and he goes through all these 6 instruments that change music forever, and he does one on synthesizers and the whole Moog synthesizer. This and just the incredible computer. Like it was fascinating. If you haven't seen that, guys that love music. He's got like an episode on distortion, an episode on like feedback, and so I mean it's a really cool series. But that's where they stood out because he brings them up specifically, and some of the stuff that Duran and just really cool stuff. So that's where recently why they kind of hit up my radar. So
I'd love to see that.
These guys were a huge draw back in the 70s. They headlined at the infamous. I don't know if you guys have heard of the famous California Jam Festival in 1974. There was an estimated 200 to 400,000 people in attendance, and Deep Purple was playing right before them. And they got pissed off backstage, and there was like a big argument going on. And the guitarist, this is on, you could watch this like on YouTube. It's fantastic. Richie Blackmore went batshit crazy on stage during the song Space Truckin'. And he's smashing guitar. He's like smashing his guitar, and he exploded the Marshall stack behind him. It literally explodes. And he destroyed the lens of the camera guy that's right next to him. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude! Like, fuck, he like had a crazy he was nuts, right? But anyway, I saw these guys with Danny Marsh and Suzanne Marsh in 1997, and they actually opened up for Jethro Tull. And we were kind of like more excited to see Jethro Tull.
Yeah.
But ELP opened up, Jethro Tull, Ethan, the band that's better.
Oh,
than
yeah.
No. So
the Flute Rockers.
Yeah. So anyway,
Play my skin flute.
we had like really good. It's probably the best seats I've had. Well, for like actual seats at like the Gorge, right? And we saw them because they opened up for Jethro Tull, and I'm going to tell you right now. They're one of the best bands I've ever seen live. Like to this day, they were fantastic. I couldn't believe it. I was like, it was like one of those bands where I was like, okay, I guess we'll sit through this. And I was like, holy shit. I mean, they outplayed Jethro Tull to me like 5 times. They were like way better. I was like, wow, it blew me away. The dude's like playing like his keyboards like upside down and shit. It was fucking insane. Like it was nuts.
From Tommy Lee.
Yeah, so it was crazy.
It's crazy.
Every musician was amazing. I was like, wow, this is nuts. So that's what I remember about that band. I'll never forget that. That was crazy. So if you guys, I'm sure you guys have seen bands that have like opened up for other bands that have like, yeah.
So you're saying buy their live albums?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how well like that stuff back in the day was recorded or whatever, but. True. I mean, I saw them. I think they were on their farewell tour. Who knows? Like, the Who have done like 25 farewell tours too. So I don't know. I know that 2 of the guys are dead. So yeah, always leave them laughing, right? Always leave them laughing. All right, moving on. Number 15 on the list. All right, the next band is a supergroup, kind of like of a supergroup. This one is formed in 1984, and the band had Paul Rogers of Free on lead vocals, of Bad Company as well. Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin on guitar, and Tony Franklin from Roy Harper on bass, and Chris Slade from Manfred Mann's Earth Band. Blinded by the light. The name of the band is The Firm. John, what do you think of The Firm? And I'm not talking about the thing in your pen. All right, go ahead.
Oh, well, then I got nothing.
Oh, okay.
So the funniest thing on this is if I look them up on Spotify and the first song that pops up, I listen to it. It's a hip hop band. Spotify done screwed up and put some random hip hop group under their like best hits or whatever. Yeah. I was like, what the heck?
Wow, this is pretty good. And then you actually got to the band, and then what happened?
It was okay. But yeah, I do like Radioactive. It's a pretty decent song, and I would not expect that from the lineup during that. It was a hit during that era, and looking at the members of the band, I wouldn't expect that.
Right, it's kind of weird, like
from them. It's
from that lineup, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
How about you, Ethan?
That's all I got.
Yeah, like I was kind of shocked because if this is the song I'm thinking of when I heard Radioactive, is that one? It's Radioactive. It's not that song, is it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Radioactive.
When I saw that with Paige, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then I saw that All the King's Horses was apparently a very popular song too, but I couldn't call that one up because I was.
They're pretty much. They get Radioactive. That's the song that's played on the radio.
Because I was like, I was looking up these bands sometime when like I was kind of doing like John's thing where I was maybe sneaking in some things during work to just get ready.
Yeah.
And so I had kids that were working on something and I couldn't play a song. So I was like, well, I'm not going to play that one and figure out if I know it or not. And I'm just going to write a few notes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's because I've heard that song 10 million times on classic rock radio.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. It's kind of repetitive for me. That song's never done it for me. Even though I like the lead singer, I like Paul Rogers, but I don't know. It's just kind of the same thing over and over. And it's kind of just, I don't know, just doesn't go anywhere for me. But and there are other songs like we talked about. They're not played or anything. And when I listen to, they're okay. But I think that's is that one of those one-off bands? I think that's like a one-off kind of band. Yeah. So. Anyway, that's the Firm. Moving on. Next up on the list, formed in Seattle, Washington in 1994. The band members consist of Dave Grohl, Pat Smear of Nirvana, both Nirvana, and Nate Mendel and William Goldsmith of Sunny Day Real Estate. And then a couple of years later, joined by Taylor Hawkins from the Alanis Morissette Band, who they signed as the drummer. So the band is the Foo Fighters. Ethan, what do you think of the Foo Fighters?
Well, I love the Foo Fighters, but this is one that I really just scratched my head about being a supergroup, because yes, Dave Grohl, but like none of those other bands had any commercial success other than Alanis Morissette, but he's really just in a backing band. Like I'm sure he played for them some, but I'm probably sure they
were touring band.
Yeah. 10 drummers. So it's just like, to call this a supergroup seems bizarre.
I'm with you too, because this band, it was like McCartney's first album. Like he did the whole album by himself, and then he got the band later.
Sure.
Right? So it's like,
well, it's like Pat Smear doesn't join to like the second or third album as it is either. Like a lot of these guys, he kind of picked up or rotated out and like kind of a revolving lineup until it kind of got solidified. And
they were on a couple of supergroup lists, and I was like, wait a minute, didn't Dave Grohl did that first album
completely by himself?
He had a little tiny bit of help with somebody else. I can't remember who it was, but like, the whole album's like him. And he loves Paul McCartney, so like, he wanted to do a Paul McCartney kind of deal. And so I'm kind of like in that. I don't know, man. It's kind of like a combination of those kind of two things. John, what are your thoughts, man?
Well, I do. I can't.
I mean, how can you not like? But first off, we all love the Foo Fighters. I mean, like,
absolutely. Dave Grohl is amazing.
I love the Foo Fighters.
The first time I ever heard the Foo Fighters was with John, and we were like, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
Remember, we kept
Warehouse
playing
music.
Yeah, we kept playing that. Well, you ended up buying that album, but we kept playing that one song. We're like, "Is this about Kurt Cobain?" Like,
you know what? I bought 2 albums that day. It was the Weezer's first album.
That's awesome.
Foo Fighters' first album.
1995. Yeah,
dude. So
love both of those.
I'm just amazed at just the transition. Dave Grohl, a drummer from Nirvana. Kurt Cobain committed suicide, and so he just went off and created his own thing, created this band from scratch.
Yeah,
and that was amazing. I mean, he hired musicians from all over to basically play his vision, and those artists have changed over time. But
another uncomfortable documentary. Is that
you like telling me about
that? Did the drums? Oh God! Yeah,
they fired that guy.
Oh, so uncomfortable. Oh gosh. Yeah.
So he came from Nirvana, which was totally different.
Right.
It was not even close. And he was a drummer. Nobody thinks of the drummer half the time.
That's what's awesome about Dave Grohl. I would say
more than 80% of the time.
He loves music. I mean, like, loves music. He's solely trying to save rock and roll. Like, every time you see him, he's like just amazing. Love Dave Grohl.
He does fit into the supergroup status just because of that. And Sunny Day Real Estate was kind of a band that was popular around here, I think. I don't know if it was
locally,
popular,
kind of,
So I knew about him, so I was like, well, that's enough to be a supergroup for me.
And then I thought to myself, how come Foo Fighters is on this list, but all these lists that I was, kind of like researching, but how come Wings isn't on the list? Paul McCartney got Denny Lane of the Moody Blues.
Denny Lane of the Moody Blues. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for being in the Moody Blues.
And Henry McAuliffe of the Joe Cocker band. I mean, that's a supergroup. That is but nobody talks about. Maybe it's like because like Paul McCartney's so far up, But dude, like that is a supergroup. So
that's a cheat code.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
so did you ever see that video of when Dave Grohl trolled the Westboro
Oh yeah.
church?
Yeah, it's great.
No
Yeah.
offense, Josh. I know that hurt you.
Oh yeah. God hates.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Jesus.
But I did have a crush on Taylor, the drummer, but only when he's in drag.
Yeah, he was pretty hot
Only
as a
when he was
woman.
in drag.
Well, didn't Dave Grohl kind of like isn't there that thing where he kind of had the braids and everyone was like, "You look like Alanis Morissette." He's like, "We did. He kind of did look like Alanis Morissette."
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right.
All right.
Yeah. Classic video.
Okay. All right. Number 17. Next up on the list here, we have a band that combines the likes of Mudvayne, Nothing Face, and Pantera. Formed in 2006. The name of the supergroup is Hellyeah. Features Chad Gray on vocals, Greg Trebet on guitar, and Pantera's Vinnie Paul on drums. And then you have from Nothing Face, you have Tom Maxwell and Jerry Montano. Ethan, what are your thoughts on Hellyeah?
You know, Hellyeah, somehow I heard of them, and I obviously knew that all those bands. I'm a huge Pantera guy, obviously. He's a metal guy. I liked Mudvayne. I saw like their first album was really bizarre, and I liked it because I caught him at like a Ozfest.
Yeah.
Nothing Face, I actually liked too. I saw them at an Ozfest. Like, so I had some of these albums, especially like just as I'm getting out of college. But I don't know if it was just right when this band came out was me getting out of college, and I've got a wife that doesn't like me listening to all my really angry heavy metal 24/7. And so I just didn't listen to a lot of Hellyeah. And then when I did hear it, it just felt cheesy or something. It felt like not Nickelback, obviously, like, but if Nickelback got really hard and really drunk and just wanted to make music while they were wasted on Southern Comfort.
What is kind of like a combination of those kind of like the two kind of eras kind of, colliding and forming
metal and that. Yeah. It just wasn't anything that really musically appealed to me. So I didn't investigate it a whole lot. And so it was tragic too. Cause they started getting, talk about a supergroup that clearly loved making music together. They have quite a few albums.
Yeah.
But when Vinnie Paul died at 54, while working on the album, and then they still put out that last album, but just like 54 is pretty young. But obviously after his brother's murdered on stage and you lived through that, and
Jesus.
I can imagine that guy already probably had demons to begin with, but that only had to probably amplify them. So kind of tragic that the band kind of fell apart that way, but yeah, that's, they've got a couple songs that, if I listen to go like, yeah, that's pretty cool, but it's just not something I'd seek out or purposely listen to over and again. So
how about you, John?
Well, to take that light note,
right? We're like really finding the dark side of these these fans.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about this group except that the one dude in the group has a sweet hairstyle on their Spotify page.
Yeah, that's the lead singer from Mudvayne.
And the Alcohol and Ass song.
Yeah, that's their big,
like
the big one.
Sticker I would see on the back of a window of a badass truck.
Hellyeah and Alcohol and Ass. Yeah, it's like the whole thing is like a sticker.
It'd be right next to a sticker of Calvin peeing on the words liberals.
Yeah,
I see a lot of those on the way home every day.
Yeah, they again that one song got some play.
It weren't noteworthy.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, they're okay to me. Again, kind of like what Ethan said. I'm like, never got really super into them, but they don't suck. But yeah. All right, number 18.
They're better than Alias, is what we're saying, right? They're better than Alias. All right,
ahead of Alias.
That should be our bar standard.
Right, yeah. So formed in 1985, they are the sole country band on the list. This had to be included because they're like one of the biggest supergroups of all time. Consisted of the biggest outlaws in country music, pretty much the biggest outlaws. Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, and Chris Christopherson. And the big hit was the same name as the group, John, your favorite.
Yeah.
The Highwaymen.
Yeah.
So John, what are your thoughts on the Highwaymen?
Was Chris Christopherson a country badass?
He's
That's
like
what I thought. Okay.
To me, Chris Christopherson is like the worst. He's the worst of the singers, and he's like not a great actor. Like whatever
he did, I'm not sure how I never heard of this group. I mean, I was very pleased with their music. They meshed really well together. And I'm not a fan of country.
Yeah.
So
well, that's kind of like the outlaw kind of music.
The outlaw country. I like that stuff. It's everything else I hate.
Yep.
It makes me get all hot in the sagebrush.
The super twangy country. Yeah. Exactly. That's what was cool about the outlaw guys. They're like, we kind of like rock and country. We're kind of like gonna do,
Willie's cool.
I love
Johnny Cash is cool.
Waylon is like my favorite.
Became cool.
He's my favorite country guy of all time.
Yeah, dude.
I love Waylon Jennings.
I was surprised it came out in the 80s too. It doesn't have a lot of those nasty 80s drums and synths. It's like, I mean, you can kind of tell it's from the 80s, but it's a throwback.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. I was surprised actually.
Hey, how about you, Ethan? Country.
Yeah, I mean, as far as country, if I was going to get behind some, it would be this kind of outlaw, dirty grunge, because I can't stand like, good God, I think it was even Dave Grohl that said like all this country music where they're talking about the badonka-donk or money shaker, sugar shaker, like stupid, just pop garbage.
Yeah.
8 guys write all the music, Tennessee music mill crap, but I can really get behind some of this outlaw stuff. And that was the very things my dad liked. And I know you said Waylon Jennings. My dad loved Waylon Jennings. And so I was kind of shocked to hear these guys. And I thought, well, I don't think I've heard any of this, but there was a song called, I think it's America Remains or something. And I know that song. So my dad must have played it because I don't know where in the hell I would have heard that. Not like immediately nostalgic being my dad's weird little pickup truck driving to Palos Beach at Aberdeen. Like I just was like transported. Music's really nostalgic like that for me. And it's just like whoa.
Ethan, I think your dad and my dad, they should get together and go bowling sometime.
Oh man, they would love it. The music that you talk about, the stories.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, I love your
I
dad's
want to
pod.
be there actually. Can I join?
Can we just have a round circle discussion with your dad sometime as a pod? That would just be
absolutely. Awesome. Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can definitely do that. No, so this band to me, I'm not a huge. I like the Highwaymen song. I guess it's a good. I love them individually. They're awesome. Like I love some of their songs individually. This band, it's all right. It's all right. It's okay. It's good. I mean, it's okay. There's a couple of songs
better than Alias.
Better than Alias. Better than Alias.
All right.
All right. Okay. Let's move on. So we have another side project supergroup here, formed in 1981, comprised of the members of Led Zeppelin, the Yardbirds, and Chic. The group is the Honeydrippers. So we have Led Zeppelin's Robert Plant on vocals and Jimmy Page on guitar. We have Jeff Beck from the Yardbirds on guitar. And Nile Rodgers from Chic, who also play guitar. And this one's an interesting one. Paul Schaefer on keyboards from the David Letterman band. Do you know, by the way, Paul Schaefer wrote the, I don't know if he wrote or co-wrote the song, It's Raining Men.
Wow.
It's raining men. Hallelujah.
Some level.
So basically this one's it's a collection of covers of 50 standards. It's definitely just a side kind of deal. I think Robert Plant's like idea for a kind of like a project. But Ethan, what do you think of the Honeydrippers?
Well, man, I remember the Sea of Love song was a big deal. It was like, I just remember being all of a sudden like on MTV even. I'm like, what am I watching? What is this?
Yeah.
But when I get into kind of reading that, like apparently Robert loved vintage R&B and really missed that sound and felt like it was something missing from the sonic verse of whatever. He had some weird thing in this interview I was watching about, like, he just thought it was time to bring some of that sound back. And clearly his bandmates obliged him. He said it was definitely something that was a passion project for him. And so that Sea of Love, just the way he's in, do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I just remember that. My mom going like, I haven't heard this in forever. And like, I'm like, oh, great. He's got my mom all juicy. That's the last thing I want to think about.
Yeah, you got Led Zeppelin singing 50 songs over here.
I'm out of here.
What about you, Johnny?
Oh, man. I think Robert and Jimmy just needed to take a break from all their drug-fueled orgies to focus whatever energy they had left on their terrible music.
What was Karen doing back in the day?
I don't know, man. Probably part of one of those orgies. The way she responded to that song made me wonder.
Well, she came out on the good side.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right.
Yeah. So luckily for us, they only had enough energy to release 5 songs. But I do remember watching this MTV video on MTV as a young lad, and my sister's best friend at the time, she had an epic mullet. And
Whoa.
she made fun of this song, so that kind of put it to where it needed to be. So
all right.
Somebody with a bad mullet makes fun of it, then you're saying that clearly.
Yeah.
I told you where it belongs in the tastemaker side.
Maybe another episode we'll have to do is who has the greatest mullet of all time?
I had a good one for a
Look
while.
at that. Well, save it for the next one. We have a lot of John's making a lot of episodes that we need to do here.
Sweet.
All right. Up next on the list. I don't really have too much to say about it. I mean, 50s standards, these guys doing the songs. Yeah. Okay. It's all right.
Yep.
Okay. This one might be one of the lesser known bands on this list to a lot of the general public. Formed in 1969, it's a collection of different members, including Steve Marriott of the Small Faces, Peter Frampton of the Herd, Greg Ridley of Spooky Tooth, and Clem Clemson of Coliseum on keyboards and guitar. The name of the band is Humble Pie. Ethan, what are your thoughts on Humble Pie?
Well, like you said, this is not a band I'd ever heard any song from. And I was wondering, like, is that the Peter Frampton? Is that Frampton Comes Alive?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So that I thought was cool. That caught my eye. I listened to a couple of the tracks, like 30 Days in the Hole, Natural Born Bougie, Black Coffee. I mean,
the Hole's the one that would get a lot of classic rock.
That was the one that I kind of had heard before.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was essentially, it seemed like they were pissed because I guess Britain, like the UK radio, was dubbing them a supergroup, and they did not like the expectation of. So they literally named themselves Humble Pie, just to say, like, people chill out. Like, we're just trying to have some fun. We're like, quit making this something it isn't, kind of. So I thought that was kind of cool. But I mean, yeah, they were cool. I mean, they weren't anything that like, well, like, whoa, how was I missing this for years? But yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, they were one of those bands that are definitely bigger in the UK, I think, than here. John, what do you think of the Humble Pie band?
Yeah, I was looking up Steve Marriott and I saw from the Small Faces, and listening to the Itchy Park. Listening to their stuff was like listening to a natural progression of the Small Faces into a 70s group. So to me, Humble Pie smelled like millipede.
Millipede?
Yeah.
Legend.
No, they sounded like the Small Faces as a 70s group to me. I don't know if it was just Steve Marriott's voice, but they grew their hair out and everyone else did. And they made music just like everyone else did, and it just was kind of generic. And I bet Humble Pie tastes bad.
That Natural Born Boogie is a great blues rock song that there's a video of it. I don't know if I put the video.
I had to
on
look that one up. It wasn't even on their top tracks, and it was probably better than the rest.
That song was like, it's like really cool because they're all taking like turns on the vocals and stuff like that. It's really good, good tune. Obviously, like we mentioned, 30 Days in the Hole is the big rock station hit of, classic rock and stuff like that. They're a good band. Probably won't be on anybody's top list or anything like that. But so moving on.
I might surprise you.
All right. So one of the best known bands on the list, another one of those bands that they became bigger later with additions of the other members. But anyway, formed in 1973, the band members of Santana, the Steve Miller Band, and Frank Zappa, and Mothers of Invention. The name of the band is Journey, featuring Greg Raleigh on keyboards and vocals, Neil Sean on guitar, George Tickner, and Ross Valerie and Ainsley Dunbar from Ethan's favorite band, Frank Zappa. So they started out as a progressive rock band. They recorded 3 albums before getting pressure from their record label to get a new lead singer. How bad is that? They're like, dude, yeah, come on, guys. You guys,
It's like Fleetwood Mac.
yeah, right. Can you guys? We need to pick stuff up here. We need to get going. So anyway, they got a new lead singer. In 1978, they released Infinity with Steve Perry on vocals, and the rest is history. So, John, what are your thoughts on the band Journey?
Oh, first off, I like Zappa just because he's damn weird.
I could see that.
And a good mustache.
A great mustache.
He's got that song about don't eat yellow snow.
Yeah.
It's good life advice.
Yeah.
But
It's good
when we
advice.
get to Journey, though, Journey makes music to cry to.
Oh.
Their album covers probably made ELO jealous. Can you picture them?
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah.
can picture him.
They're like
Definitely.
spaceships, and
Yep.
that was ELO's gig, and
Yeah.
the Journey took it over.
Yeah.
So pretty much they are a very popular band. I don't like them.
Huge band.
I know.
But the initial group, I mean, again, I kind of categorize
tried
this
to
with
find their old stuff.
Oh yeah, well,
It's hard to find.
you know what song I really like? What was that? Just the same. I think it's called Just the Same with Greg Raleigh and Steve Perry doing like kind of like a duet, kind of like double vocals.
Yeah.
That's a cool song. And then it goes into like
okay.
and it kind of goes into ooh, anytime that you want me, or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, Ethan, what are your thoughts on Journey? Your days with Brent Kipling
yeah.
Raj.
The Kipster.
Yep.
Well, Kipling would try to turn the stuff on, and then about half and tape through, I'd turn it off. And not that I have anything against Journey, but I guess I was more shocked. Like when you said Supergroup, I'm like, really? And I didn't realize like the parts that came together, this like members of Santana and some of these other bands. Like that part was news to me. So that was just kind of the cool thing.
We talked about that previously in the with the replacement singers. Greg Raleigh, he sang all the big Santana songs, so he was like no schlub. You know, he was like he was a big deal, but just didn't work until they got Steve Perry, and then he quit. And then Steve Raleigh's like, Greg Raleigh's like, fuck this, I'm out of here. I think you got this handled now. Okay. Like, yeah. So I don't know. Again, probably song for song, they might be the biggest band on here, but again, they had 3 albums and then they got Steve Perry.
Foo Fighters have sold more records.
Yeah. Kind of like, it's kind of like one of those things. But anyway, all right, we're moving on. Okay. Here we are. So, next up, what do you get when you combine the members of Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, and sprinkle a little bit of Screaming Trees? Well, you get our next band, formed in 1994 out of Seattle, Washington. The band is Mad Season. Awesome group. Ethan, what's your take on Mad Season?
Love Mad Season. You know what's crazy too is I don't know that I just fully appreciated them when this came out.
Yeah.
A few songs got radio play, but it just wasn't something at that time that I'd fully hunted out. But in the last probably 15 to 20 years, like we're coming out of college, came across it more and more and listened to it and just, I don't know, I just love it. I mean, it's so interesting because part of the backstory I didn't even realize is McCready meets John Baker. And these are guys that are in this band at one point and they're in rehab in like Minnesota. And so when they come back, they just want to kind of get a jam band together along with Barrett Martin, who's like the drummer of Screaming Trees. And so they're getting together and just kind of jamming and wanting to maybe figure out if they can make this into something more. And then McCready talks Lane, because all 3 of them are trying to stay sober. They thought if they got Lane in there, maybe being around sober musicians, Lane would want to clean up, because they really, McCready talked about how much he loved Lane as a person, because everyone talked about what a great guy he was, but just knew that he was like not in a good place. Right. And so just out of hope. And man, when they let Lane just start to like write lyrics and play songs like Lane always does, it's the transparent battles of drug abuse. And just it's haunting and beautiful and painful at the same time, because Lane's voice is just, it's all of those things. And so what an incredible album from top to bottom. You know, even with some of the weirder songs, you know, like Mark Lanigan of Screaming Trees comes in later and sings on and stuff. It's just cool, and just, you know, almost no two songs sound. I mean, you can tell it's the same artist, but it's a different vibe or feel.
Right.
It's just really cool, man.
It is. It is.
It's a good album.
John, how about you, man? What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't want to shit on what Ethan just said, because
No, dude, everybody has a different take, man, on all these different bands. I mean, you don't like Alias? I'm a huge fan. I'm just joking.
Yeah, I know you are. But yeah, rest in peace, Lane, man. He had such an amazing voice. I can't believe both him and Chris Cornell were in Seattle at the same time. How blessed were we to be able to, you know, we were young. We weren't out there watching their shows at Rock Candy or stuff like that. We got to experience them later, but good Lord.
Yeah. It's awesome, man.
I mean, Mad Season never grew on me aside from Lane's voice. I mean, his voice goes a long way.
Now, have you gone back and listened to, because I know that what Ethan said kind of resonated with me as well, because Lee was playing them when I was like driving around with Lee and stuff like that. But I didn't get into them like super huge until, I don't know, probably the last like 5 years or so. And I was like, damn, this sounds pretty good. It's like very different. Like there's a lot of different songs on there. So I don't know. I mean,
exactly. I do enjoy, there's a song Long Gone Day. It's really funky and quirky. And I feel like if they would have went in that direction, I would have been on board and loved it. I mean, that was, it was new. It was different. It's just like you hear these amazing singers like Chris and Lane singing over bands, and you just want to hear something different but with their voice. So that's what that song felt like to me. It was something new. It wasn't like a slow jam of Alice in Chains. It was totally different.
Yeah. Well, and not to put another damper on the one of these bands, but Ethan, this didn't turn out too well. These guys, these rehab guys here. Because 2 of the 4 members are now dead from heroin overdoses. Sanders died in 1999, and Lane died in 2002. I was on the same street when they announced that. It's so weird.
Terrible.
Okay, so let's move on. Let's cheer up a little bit. This gets very more poppy. All right. The next supergroup, next one, was formed in 1985. Initially consisted of the members from Genesis, Squeeze, and Van Morrison's band, Mike and the Mechanics, and Mike Rutherford of Genesis on bass, Paul Young, Sad Cafe, and Paul Carrick from Ace, Squeeze, and Roxy Music. So, John, what are your thoughts on Mike and the Mechanics?
It seems like Paul Young became more popular after Mike and the Mechanics, or was that before?
No, I don't know if this is like is that the same guy from is that the same guy that does the Daryl Hall song? Every time I go away. Is that the same guy?
Is it?
Is that the same? I don't know. I can't.
Well, I don't know. If not, who cares? Failed
on my research over here.
No, you're probably right.
I'm not sure, but I don't know why. But I always thought Mike Rutherford was Pete Townsend.
Oh yeah, he's tall and has the beard, and back when nobody had a beard in like the 80s.
Yeah, and I don't know why, but that's just my memory. But Pete Townsend can dive right into an active volcano right now.
Oh wow!
If he's still alive.
Holy Jesus!
What did he do? Did he steal George Harrison's wife too?
Nah, he was just
Is that the guy who was doing the research on the child? He's like, well, there's a lot of child pornography going on around here. I think I'm going to do some research on this myself.
Oh, was he cleared?
I think so. I don't know.
Okay, so he can undive into a volcano.
This is like 15 years ago.
That's all I remember. I just remember that headline, and I looked that up, and I was like, I didn't do my due diligence. Anyways, I actually don't mind this group. They were popular during the period, and they weren't.
I mean,
I never realized they were a supergroup. Not sure if that was good or bad, but I mean, they had hits.
They did.
I mean, I don't like it now, but during the time, it was all right. And so if Paul Young was the every guy or every time I go away dude, then I always thought it was every time I go away, you take a piece of meat with you.
I remember that still, John. You told me that a long time ago, and that's still all I hear now.
Well, Paul Young in this group, he's the one that sang All I Need Is a Miracle, I believe.
Well, he didn't take a piece of meat in that song.
And then Paul Carrick, he's the one that sang Skylight Running. Can you
Living Years, though, man, it was made to make people cry, I think.
Oh, and here we go again with the Ethan, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on
what do you think
Mike and the Mechanic?
Josh? What do you think my thoughts are?
He just
way too many keyboards.
Right.
Like it just sounds so 80s, like very specific, 80s. very genre niche kind of a thing. It's just it was like, and it didn't catch my ear then. It sure as hell doesn't catch it now.
Well, it's like
I do have some respect for Genesis. This was not my cup
Phil
of tea.
Collins, Mike and the Mechanics. These guys, they could not go wrong in the 80s. All they did, I mean, if you combined all the songs, all the hits that these guys had in the 80s.
Yeah, true.
I mean, it's mind blowing how many hits they had. So
I think
it has its place.
MTV killed Phil Collins because he looked weird.
Well, Phil Collins
he dominated MTV though. He was on it all the time.
But that's part of the you're right though, because there was by the end of the 80s, it was kind of like what do we used to call it? We have a Beatles burnout. We would just like listen to the Beatles.
Yeah.
All right, okay, yeah. I mean, I think just the entire world had Phil Collins burnout, kind of like
Lee with Ben Affleck.
Yeah. So anyway, they're pop songs. They're pop rock.
Oh yeah.
They live and they die.
The era. So yeah. So all right, moving on.
Songs, and that was it.
Please, let's move on.
All right, next up, formed in Los Angeles, California, 1988.
For reasons unknown.
The band combined the members of David Lee Roth's band and Racer X and the Eric Martin band, and the drummer for such acts as John Parr and Belinda Carlisle. Kind of weird. But the band is the one and only Mr. Big. So, John, what are your thoughts on Mr. Big?
I got two thoughts, and they're not good. So,
oh god,
mash this group up with the damn Yankees and send them to space on the Bezos boner rocket.
Whoa!
Yeah, let's do that. Did it explode in the air like the Challenger?
Oh god!
Please.
Oh my god!
Well,
hold on, little girl.
But no, I wouldn't cry. Every time the version of Wild World plays, though, they should have to lose money.
Oh god.
Yeah, thank you,
Ethan. I'm excited.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
What are my thoughts, Josh? Come on, Mr. Big. That's what you're gonna name yourself. Like you have time to come up with a name, and that's what you name yourself, Mr. Big. It's probably a guy with like a 2-inch weenie.
By the way, it's weird too if you like look at this band, because I watched the video of what's his name, like in the chair, and he's all singing. He's like, just to be with you. And then I look over to the side, and I'm like, oh my god, how old is that dude? I was like, it was like shocking. I was like, I think it was the guy might have been from the David Lee Roth band. I'm not sure. Billy Sheehan. I'm not sure if he was. I don't know. One of the guys like kind of like took me back. I was like, oh god. So
American Bandstand.
What's that?
American Bandstand is listed as one of the guys' groups.
Oh really? Oh okay.
Is
yeah, I know.
Real?
So, again, I think this goes into the category of grunge came right around this same time.
Supergroup. Like what in the God's name, Sam Hill of like.
I played on American Bandstand.
All right, we're moving on. All right. Formed in Los Angeles, California in 1999. This band combines the members of Tool, Primus, the Vandals, and a former guitar tech from Nine Inch Nails, Smashing Pumpkins, and Tool. The band is A Perfect Circle. Ethan, what are your thoughts on A Perfect Circle?
They're a cool band. I like them. I mean, come on, man. Maynard has got one of the cooler voices in rock.
Hell yeah.
Billy Howardell did, and that's the guy that was the old tech. Like the fact that he kind of just
such a cool
won
story.
over. Yeah, just won over Maynard when he's like living at his house for some free rent and kind of getting him, like playing him some demos. And you know, and the funny thing is, then he had the balls to go find a different lead singer and didn't get the person he want, and then gives it to Maynard. If that story's in fact true, it's like that's ballsy. And it's a band that one of because like I said, I'm a huge Queens of the Stone Age guy, and kind of later in their iteration, they have Troy Van Leeuwen, and he performed on the first couple albums here for this as well. Kind of becomes another guitarist. So I mean, this is just a band with some really talented musicians. Has some really cool songs. I mean, obviously Judith is kind of the song that they're known for, but as it moved on to the second album, I just remember the second album not hit me the same way.
Yeah,
it was good, but it wasn't. I was kind of like, oh, I bought it, listened to it, and then it kind of sat in the car by my disc changer, my little little CD thing. Yeah, with my tape deck thing that I put in. Yeah,
oh, that's awesome.
You remember that?
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
John used to have that in his old stereo too.
A Buick Skylark.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess, you know, that's the crazy thing too, but just because of like the commitments of all these other bands, that had to be frustrating for the real fans of this band, because man, they had shut down for long periods of time. I mean, God, even just being a Tool fan, it felt like you had to wait like 8 years between flipping albums. So it was kind of a similar thing here. But yeah, I kind of lost track after the first album, the first two actually. And I know they've had other music, but
yeah. John?
So I was surprised to see James Ehan here from Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah, he joined like later, right? I think he joined like after the first album or the
did he?
Something like that.
Dang, man.
I think Troy left to join Queens and then he came on.
Okay. If you want to hear something wild, go listen to James Ehan's first solo album, Let It Come Down.
I used to play that. I used to play that on the radio station.
No way, man. I love that album. It was like it was the total opposite of this music.
Yeah.
It was like sunny, rainbows, and happiness.
Yeah, I was like, I kept staring. I was like, this is the guy from Smashing Pumpkins? Like that.
Exactly. Yeah, well, I mean, Perfect Circle is an amazing combo. I mean, you can't deny the members that are in there. They perform like perfect. Their music is just so good. The backgrounds that they mesh together so well. I just don't like them that much because their music makes me depressed. I mean, I live in Seattle, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, I need some sunshine in my life over here.
It's right in smack dab in the middle of the sad season, dude.
Yeah. I keep going back to that. When I keep reading about this band, I keep going back to that guitar tech and
that's awesome.
I don't know if you guys have ever had the chance to see any of these like guitar techs and like these bands that warm up and stuff and like, you know, check the instruments and stuff for the band. Yeah. Dude, these guys are the real deal, man. These guys, there are some amazing guitar techs out there. And like, didn't the guitar tech famously save a Metallica concert or their tour or something like that? With James when his exploded hand.
What?
But I had
he wandered into the pyros, John, and the pyro blew up. He didn't know where he was at on the stage, but the guitar tech saved James's life.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because like, you know, those guys like they know all the songs and stuff like that. So it's like
all the time. Meat fingers. What do they call me? Meat fingers raised.
Just meat hanging off of your. But yeah, so I had a chance to see the guitar tech really go to town as much as he could for Silverchair. I was watching them warm up. It's kind of weird when sometimes because we would have access to the shows before, you know, anybody could go in. So we're sitting in there like watching. Like, I think we're in the Paramount. Is it the it's the Paramount. We're like watching it. I was like, this is kind of cool. Like I'm in the standing next to Kathy Faulkner, just talking to her and stuff like that, you know, and we're just like listening to this guitar tech going crazy up on stage and stuff like that. So that's what I remember about like, you know, I just think about that kind of stuff where like those guitar techs, they're just awesome. And, you know, some of these guys are great, fantastic musicians. They're just not, you know, well, in bands, but when you see something like this, it's kind of cool, you know?
Yeah.
So,
heck yeah, man.
All right, moving on. So definitely one of the biggest overall star power bands. Probably the biggest one as far as, person by person in the band. These guys were formed in Los Angeles, California, 1988, consisted of George Harrison of the Beatles, Jeff Lynne of the Electric Light Orchestra, Roy Orbison, Bob Dylan, and Tom Petty. And they also had the legendary Sessions drummer, Jim Keltner, on the drums there. The name of the band is the Traveling Wilburys. Johnny, what are your thoughts on the Traveling Wilburys?
I was kind of surprised when I saw that the drummer wasn't Ringo, because I swear I saw him in the music video.
Well, he did. I think he drummed on I Won't Back Down, which is kind of like a mesh between those guys anyways. Like they all played on their albums like in that era.
Okay. Well, anyways, I was kind of disappointed. I was going to write some stuff about him. I was like, hey, he's not in this group. But for my musical taste, this was one of the biggest supergroups, in my opinion, just because Bob Dylan, George Harrison, the Beatles, my favorite band.
They're huge.
Tom Petty, Jeff Lynne was like Beatles Part 2, where he tried to be. And then I was kind of thrown off by Roy Orbison because I didn't know much about him except for his like big hit back in the early 60s or whatever. I thought it was really cool though that he was a part of the group. George and the Beatles loved Roy Orbison, and so he got to be in that group right before the end of his life.
Yeah.
So
like right after that album came out, like
their second music video had a
just a rocking chair.
Empty rocking chair that represented his ghost.
Yeah, a rocking chair like.
But was he making pottery with Demi Moore? Was it?
Oh yeah.
Whoopi Goldberg was there. Yeah. Yep.
It's a deep cut.
So yeah, I actually explored some more of their music because I never really I always wanted to explore more of their songs, and there wasn't many songs because it was kind of one-off supergroup. And I came across Heading for the Light, which was a song by George, basically, and it was a total George song, but
totally
it was so good because George wasn't having much going on during that era. He had I Got My Mind Set on You, and
this album is it has just Jeff Lynne written all over it, man. Jeff Lynne
backing vocals in the background.
Yeah,
it was kind of Beatlesque. I love that. I'm a sucker for that stuff, and it was I was definitely surprised. That
first album is definitely one of my favorite of all the supergroup albums. But there was this one song, I can't remember what it was. You're Not Alone. I think it's You're Not Alone. Like one of the guys was talking about how they kept working on the song, and I think it was Roy Orbison on vocals, and they were like, we can't get it. Let's just scrap it. Let's just scrap the song. And everyone left, right? And Jeff Lynne stayed behind and literally scrapped the entire song. And that guy's a genius. So he literally put the song, constructed the song all throughout the night, redid the whole track or something like that. I don't know if I probably getting this story all wrong, but anyway, they came back. I don't know if it was the next day or a couple days later. And he had this whole song done up, and he goes, okay, how about this? And they're like, holy Jesus, what? That's not even the same. That's amazing. Now the song's great. So I love stories like that. Yeah, right. Yeah. So I love that. Ethan, what are your thoughts on the Traveling Wilburys?
I've got respect for all those musicians. It's just not my cup of tea. So it wasn't music that I listened to. I just remember seeing that one video that you're talking about, John, with the ghost rocking chair.
Into the line.
Roy Orbison always looked really strange to me. I don't know. It was I didn't know what to think of him. So all in all, I mean, I had respect for it. I know my dad was big into it because he loved Dylan. He loved Petty. So those things were big to him. I don't know that he's as big of a Roy Orbison guy or Jeff Lynne guy, even though. But so I remember hearing him playing at the truck and stuff. And so I had respect for it. I mean, some of
Bob Dylan's best singing is on that group. Maybe they just I don't know. Bob Dylan's kind of a hard dude to work with, I guess. But I don't know. They look like the cool thing about that band is they look like they had fun. They were actually having fun. So you could tell, like, even the pictures they take and stuff like that. So yeah, anyway, but yeah, so that album was actually a big catalyst for the big blockbuster I was mentioning before, the Full Moon Fever album.
Wow.
So yeah, a lot of those guys kind of like worked on that album too. And, yeah. So, all right, moving on. We're getting close here. Number 27 on the list. It's a group. This one is formed in 1990 out of Seattle, Washington, featuring members of Soundgarden with Chris Cornell and Matt Cameron, Stone Gossard and Jeff Ament of Green River and Mother Love Bone, and the members of Pearl Jam. Well, later, Pearl Jam, Mike McCready and Eddie Vedder. The band is Temple of the Dog. Ethan, what are your thoughts on Temple of the Dog?
Well, obviously, this is another band born out of tragedy, right? With the death of Andy Wood, who was the lead singer, like you said, of Mother Love Bone and stuff like that. So you've got that. You've also got the piece of like, it was Chris's roommate. The parts that were interesting to me that I'd never heard, because even with all the stuff we covered on the Grunge podcast, was that how much stress this really put between the Soundgarden members that maybe came to fruition later. Because, with Matt coming over, and they knew that Kim Thale was kind of saying, like, I knew this was starting to just try to honor Andy, but he felt like it turned into something else, which was more about, like, it wasn't that anymore. Kind of like saying some things that probably pissed off Chris and otherwise, that created tension there. But I mean, as a musical album, I know the first two songs, like Say Hello to Heaven and Reach Down and stuff, are songs that Chris wrote immediately about Andy. And then somehow he, I think, sent it to, I want to say it was Andy's girlfriend, and Andy's girlfriend played it for the rest of the band. And that's where they reached out. Then I think it was Stone Gossard that reached out and said, like, man, let's get together and let's make an album out of this. These are incredible. Like, let's honor Andy that way. But that's where apparently some of the tension was made. But it's great stuff. I mean,
yeah, it is great stuff.
How can you go wrong with Chris singing, and then the fact that Eddie's up there trying to audition to Eddie Vedder to become the lead singer of Pearl Jam, as I understand it, and then saw that Chris was struggling with some of the lows on this one piece of, like, just trying to find the right. So he just has the balls to jump on the mic and go, well, have you thought about it like this? And then Chris is thinking, like, well, what the hell am I? You sing it your way. I mean, that was amazing. And
how about I try
that whole humor? Yeah, the whole Hunger Strike song.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you, Adam Sandler. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's great. To me, I don't know that song for song, I think it's as good as Mad Season, though, but it's still just an iconic piece of, like, the Seattle music scene, obviously.
Yeah.
There's like Pearl Jam from that union. And
definitely. Yeah. So, John, how about you, man?
So I didn't realize that it was, like, before Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
It's really cool, but is definitely a nutshell of the Seattle power ballad music scene. I wouldn't say the total Seattle music scene, because there was a lot of
two classic radio hits on that
stuff,
one.
but
yeah,
it was really cool. It felt like just like a one-off project, but the fact that it, like, propelled Vedder, and I don't know if it also propelled Stone, but to work together was the pretty awesome. But probably my favorite memory of this group is the video for Hunger Strike, was when Eddie's singing and his voice is Eddie's standard voice, which is kind of weird. You just did a nice parody of it. But then Chris Cornell comes in on, like, the second part of the song and just blows them out of the water. I was like, oof.
Yeah, did you guys see when right before, I think it was like a year or two before Cornell died, they did a reunion. Did you guys see that? It was awesome, man.
No.
It was so cool.
I wanted to get tickets to that so bad.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. No, I mean, this album's like, it's cool. It's kind of like what Ethan said. It's, song for song, it's probably not the, it's not the greatest album, but there's still, like, a few classic songs on it. And check this out. Like 4 months later, Pearl Jam's 10 was released on August 27th.
Wow.
And then
never mind, right?
Yeah. And then a month after that, Bad Motorfinger was released on October the 8th. Wow. So these guys were definitely on top of their game during this time, for sure.
Pretty nice moment for us growing up.
Yeah, exactly. It's so cool to be to be in that era. Even though like that album, as we discussed before, like that album didn't even get like really big until Pearl Jam and all those exploded. But yeah. All right, moving on. Number 28. We're almost there, guys. Number 28. Formed in London, England in 1984. The band was a combination of the members of Duran Duran, John Taylor, and Andy Taylor, and disco band Chic again with Tony Thompson on drums and Bernard Edwards, who is the producer, and with Robert Palmer on vocals. The name of the band is The Power Station. John, what are your thoughts on The Power Station?
I'm just trying to realize now, how did Cheek get on the list twice? They are nothing like, I don't know. Anyways, I never realized this wasn't a solo Robert Palmer project. So
yeah,
I guess
weird,
I
right?
should have looked for the 20 creepy emotionless women in the background, fake playing instruments with like dark red lipstick. So
gonna have
that might have told me something, but
yeah.
Why do we have
He's always in a suit though. Isn't that weird? And he died young too. I think he died at like 54 or something. I don't know what year but he died young.
Too much red number 20 dye lipstick kisses to the face.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I
Yeah,
don't know why we got to constantly be punished by these supergroups with their bad covers of good songs.
Oh yeah,
Get It On, Bang It
On. No, that's not a good cover.
Yeah, Ice Cube doesn't come to my house and force feed me his clone recipe for cinnamon toast crunch. Why should I have to listen to a bad cover of Bang a Gong?
It's just like those 80s drums, those like I don't know,
man.
Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Ethan, what are your thoughts on this band?
You know what? Because I kind of like, I'm a secret like closet Duran Duran. Like I legitimately like Duran Duran. They were just badass.
I love Duran
And
Duran.
so, man, some of the cool stuff, the synth guitar, like just the way they brought all that stuff together. And I mean, obviously this is only part of it, but for some stupid reason, like, the Bang the Gong didn't love, but for some reason as a kid, when Some Like It Hot came on, I love that song.
It's good.
Yeah.
Like all the cool, like bong bong, bing bing, like all the gong stuff and drum stuff were just feel the heat.
That's great. Yeah, that's a catchy song. That's why that one's the one that's played on the radio, and the other one is not anymore. So
true that.
Yeah, I just thought it was Robert Palmer solo. I didn't realize it was a super group.
Well, yeah, and Robert Palmer solo. Then he went on to do. I don't know if What's Called was before or after this, but
I think it's after, but you might be wrong.
Well, wait, because he had those two big hits. Was Gonna Have to Face It, You're Addicted to Love, and then he had the kind of like the redone song of that of It's Simply Irresistible.
Oh yeah,
and that one I remember from like junior high school. That was like big when when I went to the junior high dance, like standing there on the sideline with a Coca-Cola and like,
Miss Carmen,
look at those people having fun over there.
We had that Spanish teacher, Miss Carmen. I swear she used to hit on me at those dances and give me free sodas. It was creepy and exciting all at the same time.
Oh, Miss Carmen Laterno.
Yeah, Laterno.
Maybe.
All right. Number 29, formed in Detroit, Michigan in 2005. We have
I love you guys.
Jack White of the White Stripes.
Oh yeah.
We have Jack Lawrence and Patrick Keller of the Greenhorns. Okay, and then we have Brendan Benson, who's the solo, and the name of the group is the Raconteurs. Johnny, what are your thoughts on the Raconteurs?
So I'm not sure if Jack White should have started out as the Raconteurs or the White Stripes, but basically this feels like a progression of when he first started out. It's the White Stripes, if I'm going with the first name, but evolved. And I do like their music a lot, but to me, it just feels like a natural evolution of his Jack White's music style. So I don't feel like it should be two different bands. I feel like it should just be the same band with different members.
Okay.
I think the White Stripes have so many more like punk kind of like in your face songs. They were dirty, and the Raconteurs is definitely a little more polished, I feel.
You could definitely tell the difference, by the way, between the Jack White songs and the Brendan Benson songs.
Yeah. In terms of like what
They're
they're saying.
very, very different. Like Brendan Benson kind of seems like I'm just going, I'm going out on an edge here, but I don't know many people that even knew of Brendan Benson before this. I did, and I liked that guy. He was like a weird Beatlesque kind of dude.
Yeah.
I like that guy. And I like I love the White Stripes, especially the second album by White Stripes? Boom, 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 boom.
Oh, that's a few down the road, actually.
Yeah. Okay. But
Yeah.
anyway. But anyway, that whole hit. Yeah, but the whole album of that was like just amazing. Yeah. But yeah, Ethan, what are your thoughts on them?
Well, I'll be honest. I'm a huge. Weirdly, Jack White's grown on me a lot. Later, like I love, like the White Stripes. I heard it was just cool. I like some of his solo stuff. I love that bluesy, but then it's just like his own sound. And so when I got into Raconteurs, ever said, I loved it, especially the song "The Consoler of the Lonely." I don't know why that song makes me laugh so hard about when you're stuck at a party talking to a girl that's just so devoid of like, and everyone's telling you it's like, man, this girl's hot, you should be happy. And he's like, I'm like bored to tears. And then Jack White cuts in the middle and like sings this part that's really kind of just like really jagged. I mean, it doesn't sound at all like the other part, but just the cool way they bounce back between the two pieces. I don't know. They're a band I dig and I need to get into more, but I feel like a better example of a super band than that with Jack White, honestly, in terms of the members being known for other things, is the Dead Weather, Josh. Because the Dead Weather, you got Allison Massart, who's like unbelievable. I love the Kills. She's got this really cool kind of punk rock edgy thing. You've got Jack White. You've got Dean Furtado, who's like a guitarist from Queens of the Stone Age. He does all these keyboards. Like he's a super talented musician. And what's crazy on this is Jack White doesn't even play guitar. He's the drummer of the Dead Weather. And like Dean Furtado is like the guitar. Like they switch things around. And it's also got the Jack Lawrence guy, who's also from the Raconteurs. It's just one of his other buds. But it's like, it's really edgy and weird and out there. And I was kind of shocked it wasn't Jack White on guitar, because there's songs that sound very Jack White-esque. But the Dead Weather have got 2 or 3 albums that have had pretty huge commercial success as well, which it's just, they're another weird, cool band that seems like some of the parts are a little more well-known from before.
Yeah. Hey, how about you, John? So John, you didn't, did you say that you listened to them, but how deep did you get into these guys? Did you listen to any of the Brendan Benson songs, or just kind of like
no, I don't think I
hit?
hit on any of the Brendan Benson stuff.
Just check it out. It sounds like from what I know of you, I think you would dig some of those the Brendan Benson songs. So
yeah,
I'd say
sounds enough like Jack White too. Occasionally, if you're not careful, you might not know the difference unless.
Right.
His vocals are kind of a higher end too.
Yeah, I like these guys. They're pretty cool. Yeah. So
I've really liked I haven't heard of this other group, but I definitely like all the stuff that Jack White's done. Like he's got some moments that I really enjoy.
Yeah. I'll shoot you a playlist, Johnny. I got one that I put together with all this kind of weird stuff that Jack White does.
Oh yeah, I'm into the weird stuff.
Yeah. All right, and here we are.
Butt stuff.
Here we are, guys. I don't know if this is this might be the second. This time we have John's honorable
drum roll
here too. So, but last but definitely not least, and again, not saying we're gonna we have Z coming up here. So, but this is V. So, formed in Orange County in 2002 with the former members of Guns N' Roses. You have Duff, Slash, and Matt Sorum, and on vocals you have Scott Weiland on vocals from Stone Temple Pilots, and Dave Kushner of Wasted Youth, and also I think he played with a song or something like that with Infectious Grooves. I don't know. But the band is Velvet Revolver. Ethan, what are your thoughts on Velvet Revolver?
First off, the name's just stupid. It just sounds like some sort of like
Roses.
Sounds like some sort of stupid
sex toy.
Yeah, like some sort of sex toy that people use in their like butt stuff that Johnny was talking about.
Oh,
sorry. And then, like, come on, man. Like, you couldn't see this was going to be a flaming dumpster fire from start to finish. Like, Scott Weiland is just clearly at this point is already lost his mind. I mean, whether or not he's directly responsible for the breakup of Stone Temple Pilots already is questionable.
Yeah.
And then he never shows up. Like, you're listening to all the things about this band. Like, he doesn't show up to any of the things, even get the record deal on time. Like, he's clearly got abuse issues. He's clearly just lying about it. Yeah. And it's like they just kind of go through it. But like at one point, they all have their own management within the same band. And then the wives are getting pissed about who gets what cut. Like, this whole thing was a train wreck from start to finish. It's kind of amazing. They kept it together and had 2 commercially successful, I guess, albums. Yeah. Albeit their music sounded like an attempt at kind of reviving a Guns N' Roses type feel that I don't think, and no one was asking for. Because like Get Back GNR and what Axl, and Axl's batshit crazy too, but I mean, when
these
he
guys
brings
love
those
their
guys
lead
together,
singers, huh?
Yeah, I'm telling you, you bring that. But there's something about what Axl brings those guys together. And when, even the weird Guns N' Roses album that Axl made that didn't have Slash or whatever, there was still some stuff that was musically intriguing in that. Yeah. Scott Weiland isn't the kind of
didn't that take like 12 years to make or something like that?
Yeah, he's not the weird, meticulous bizarro that that Axl. I mean, just the music seemed formulaic and kind of recycled.
Did you guys watch that special on VH1 where they did kind of like they're following the band as they try out singers and stuff like that, and then they have
my lord, that must have been a train wreck.
Oh, they finally have Scott Weiland come in, and dude, you're like, oh my god, like he is just fucking out of it. I was like, oh god, and I remember back to this, and I was like, yeah, this is like the reason why they kicked him out of like Stone Temple Pilots or whatever, and like. Or whatever happened with that. Yeah. And he's just like fucking so out of it. You're like, oh my God. But he comes in and he fucking kills it. Like, it's Scott Weiland. I mean, he's
good at what he does.
Yeah. So you're watching this and you're like, I get it. I mean, what are you going to do? You have all these like singers that you try out and they're just garbage, right? Like what's his name? Who's the drummer? Was it the drummer?
Yeah.
Comes off as like a dick, like a total dick. He goes, Duff comes off as a nice guy. He's like, he's the guy walks in and he's like,
wow.
He's like,
the guy from Seattle.
Yeah. The guy walks in and the drummer's all no. And he's like, dude, you don't gotta be a dick. Like right when the guy comes in, like, he's like, I just know, look at him. Like, and then I don't know, but it's funny because you have Scott Weiland and he's just fucking messed up. But I mean, just looking at his face, he has that look.
Kind of look at him in every video. He looked like he was just a cracked out heroin addict.
I'm surprised he lasted a lot longer than he did. I mean, he died in 2015 or something like that, which is a good 8 years. I don't know much longer, but Jesus, man. John, what do you think of Velvet Revolver on the music here?
And no sex stories about your butt stuff.
Okay, not this time. I didn't realize Scott Weiland was dead, but I'm not surprised. I was actually happy to hear how he sang on this.
God, I thought
it was amazing.
Happy to hear he's dead.
Yeah.
I'm losing my mind.
No, he ditched that the Stone Temple Pilots twang he did.
Right.
That.
Did he rip off sound?
That.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
He really came into his own. Yeah.
He was flexing his voice, and I thought he did an okay job, and I didn't hate it. I thought that the group definitely had a different sound. I mean, it was kind of generic, but listening to Slash's solos totally like sounded like Guns N' Roses to me. But I thought it was nice. It was better than Slash's Snakepit. I was so excited for Slash's Snakepit. I was at freaking Incredible Universe when that album came out.
Oh yeah,
at a listening station. Oh dude, I was so excited. I'm putting on the headphones in slow motion, hit play. That listening station saved me $16. I was very thankful. But I don't know, I like the Fall to Pieces song on that.
Fall to Pieces, Slither.
It was a nice little rock ballad.
I disagree with you then. I enjoyed those a lot more than the piece of shit that Axl released as Guns N' Roses, which is not Guns N' Roses. So yeah, I really liked those 2 songs, but that band was never going to last. And
no,
it didn't. And what's the name instead now? I don't know. ending it on the the same note. Yeah. So anyway, all right, guys, it is time to pick out our selections for the greatest supergroups of all time. Wait, John, we didn't do Zwan. You got Zwan?
Man. Yeah, that was deleted from the list. I just quick mention, it was a surprise to me. I really like Smashing Pumpkins all the way up to their Adore album, and the next album, whatever it's called, had a couple good songs, but this album felt like a continuation of Smashing Pumpkins. So for me, it didn't feel like a supergroup. It just felt like another Smashing Pumpkins album. So I'm just going to call it Smashing Pumpkins album. But the only cool thing that stood out to me was the Paz Lenchanton from Perfect Circle.
Mm-hmm.
She did some backing vocals, and it was like Smashing Pumpkins with a nice female backup singer.
Right.
So
yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, I do like the album. I'm going to listen to it more. It felt like it was just an extra Smashing Pumpkins album, and anything after Adore besides this album can go, I don't know, away from me.
I had just a quick side note. I listened to my buddy was a huge Smashing Pumpkins fan, and I was working at the radio station at the time. We were doing construction, and I go, "Hey man, I got tickets to the Smashing Pumpkins. You in?" He goes, "Yeah, let's do it." And it was the second to last stop on their final tour, so they were probably just fucking had it with everything, and it was one of the worst shows I've ever seen. They had gone electronic, and I kept looking over at my buddy, and I felt so bad because like we didn't know we didn't recognize any of the songs. I'm like, these guys have some of the biggest hits of the '90s, and they're all like electronic. What the fuck's going on? What is this? Anyway, so that was my experience with.
Oh man, that reminds me. Speaking of electronic, I was looking up Zwan on Spotify, and they aren't on there for some reason. I read a deal that they were not releasing it on Spotify for some dumb reason, but there's another band named Zwan that is a down-tempo ambient electro music band, and I'm like, really, Josh? What kind of bullshit is this? This is weird.
All right, let's move on to our album. Let's do our picks here, because we're going long here. All right, so all right, so our picks for the greatest supergroups of all time. So John, what we're going to do is we're going to start out with your criteria. I don't know what your criteria is. It could be anything. Like I said, there are no rules with this. Whatever you are deciding to, make your list about, it's cool. There are no rules. And so Ethan, same with you, obviously. So all right, I'm going to just well, actually, go ahead. I'll let you guys. I don't know if you guys want to explain like your criteria, or if you just want to like go with your picks, but or unless you want to hear my criteria first. It's up to you. For me,
Go Josh.
Yeah, go Josh, please.
Set the tone.
This is just me. So I decided to break it down this way. So some of these bands to me are kind of like just like side projects, like we mentioned, or a fun experiment. A number of these groups actually turned out to be bands like with real chemistry. And that's when the magic occurs to me. So I decided on picking up bands that were specifically assembled to be a band from the beginning. They had to have like real success, both on the charts and critically. So Alias is there. They got to be like up there. And then C, when it comes right down to it, the bottom line for me is, are the songs still good? Do they still hold up over all these years? So that's my criteria. Again, yours could be anything. It could be just like your favorite songs, whatever. I don't care. But yeah. So how about you, John? What are your kind of like your criteria of your selection?
I kind of went the same way. It was like previous bands, like were they known bands, and and then also, was their output successful or good? Because successful doesn't always mean good.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then if I actually liked them, so that's
Cool.
why. Yeah, Journey didn't make my list.
All right, Ethan, how about you, man?
Man, I'm just gonna go straight with the things that which of these bands do I listen to the most because I like them, which will make
Yep.
it pretty obvious to predict, but based on what I've said before, already. But so be it. You guys still there?
Hello.
Can you guys hear me?
Now I
Yeah.
can hear you. You disappeared for a bit.
Oh,
there.
sorry about that. So, John, what is your runner-up on the
Okay.
greatest supergroups?
I probably moved this 3 times, but as I was defining my requirements, I went up with Cream. They were the first supergroup. I mean, Clapton had the odds to get on this frickin' list with his 4 or 5 or 10 frickin'
It was bound to
supergroups he was
happen.
in. Yeah, I mean, but Cream, though, out of all of his groups, they were the most iconic. They were so versatile with their sound. They deserve to be on the list. But the non-Clapton members, they weren't that well known to me, so their like super status wasn't like that epic up there. And I would say my favorite song was White Room. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So Cream's your runner-up. Ethan, what's your runner-up?
Like I said, I'm just picking bands that I like and listen to, and so for me, it's got to be the Raconteurs, just because I enjoy their music quite a bit, and it's something that I've been listening to and kind of getting into more lately. So,
Awesome.
I
Actually, me
think
too.
Steady as She Goes, and probably I love Consoler of the Lonely because that song just makes me laugh every time I hear it, and it's musically interesting.
Awesome. Yeah, good selection. My runner-up. These guys were just too big for me to leave off the list. Probably going to piss off a couple people that I know from this one. The first album, such a classic. Their second album, fantastic. And they had a string of great singles, probably overplayed. But, not to... they had success. And they actually had success with another singer in the 80s as well. But my pick is Bad Company. Bad Company.
The day I die.
Yep. That is my that's my runner up. Is Bad Company.
Bad Company.
Yep.
I like that you had the vinyl.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right. So So now we're down to the top 3. Johnny,
Boom.
who is your number 3 band on the list? We are down to the top 3.
Yeah,
Come
these guys
on,
weren't even
Alias.
on my list, and now they are.
Oh,
So,
wow.
I had to go with Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young after going back over my notes, just because they were from really big and popular groups previously, which is pretty rare. I mean, you'll know of 1 or 2 people, but their groups before, but you won't know of like almost all the group's previous bands. And that was pretty cool to think that they all came from pretty big bands and created this new band that was, I would say, even more popular.
Yeah.
The only reason they're down at number 3 is after basically 1970s, their music went down really low, like bad. So I'd say,
Awesome.
yeah, I would say after Young came and they put out their Deja Vu album, I wouldn't want to listen to anything after that. So they had some amazing hits for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Maybe 1.5. I don't know. But
all right.
yeah.
Ethan, how about you, buddy? Number 3.
Once again, for me, you got Grohl behind drums looking like Animal from the Electric Mayhem. You've got one of my favorite guitarists, and you've got arguably the best bass guitarist in rock and roll history. So, I mean, I know it's a one-off and it's a side project. I still hold out hope they're going to get back together and make another song, but I guess, I don't know if John Paul Jones is even still alive. I sure hope he is.
Dare you?
I hope he is. So, yeah, them Cricket Vultures, because I just love that album, listen to it a lot. And so, like I said, anyone that listens to this and hasn't listened to them, please check them out, because there's some really interesting stuff instrumentally on that album.
I
Awesome.
enjoyed learning about them myself.
Awesome. So my number three band on the list is along with one of my favorite all-time vocalists is it's a combination of two great bands, and that would be Audioslave.
Ooh,
Yes.
Combination of
Look at that. Look at the cross-mogination of the two CDs.
Yep. So
Get some vinyl, Josh.
Yeah. They didn't press a lot of vinyl back in the 90s, but So no, just what can you say, man? Like, you have some of the best music meeting some of the greatest vocals ever in history. So that is my number three, Audioslave. First album was killer, and I have a lot of good memories from that. So yeah, great stuff. All right, we are down to the top two. So here we go, Ethan. We're gonna move over to Ethan here. So what do you have as your number two selection on your list?
Mad Season. I got my Mad Season because, once again, just my love of Seattle sound and the grunge music and being a hard rock guy, and just what McCready and Staley and the other gentlemen brought to the table. So yeah, Mad Season. There's so many good songs on there.
Yeah.
River of Deceit, Wake Up. I Don't Know Anything. Even that one repeats over and over again. I don't know when, but yeah,
but it repeats in Lane Staley's voice. So
well, there you go.
Infinitely better.
Exactly. So yep, but Mad Season for me, man. It's my number two.
Awesome. Good stuff. Love that album. John, number two. What is your number two, buddy?
So I'm boosting your number three with Audioslave.
Nice.
I didn't really like this band before researching these groups, so I'm very grateful for doing this, because I was able to research these guys to find out that I actually really liked them. Just the oversaturation of their hits kind of always turns me off, no matter what band it is.
Sure.
Tom Morello and Chris Cornell made an amazing pair, and they were able to create something amazing together. So that was cool. And I think they kind of soared beyond Rage Against the Machine. I don't know about Soundgarden, because hey, it's Soundgarden. but the fact that this band is basically Rage without Zach, you can't tell, because they're fresh. Their music was so fresh, and it was different. There's hints of both bands, because you can't escape that, because basically Chris's voice is gonna always lead you back to Soundgarden, and Tom Morello's solos and stuff are always gonna kind of sound like Rage Against the Machine. But I feel like they matured a lot, and yeah, it was great. And I really love that Gasoline song. It was kind of funky and different.
Yeah.
So that was a nice find.
Okay, well, speaking of fresh, my number two selection on this list is it's the it is
Mr. Big.
Alias. No. No, so my number two on the list, they're pretty much the band that started it all, man. How can you can't really deny it. They're super influential in so many ways. Started the whole supergroup craze, the power trios, and the musicianship of each member is just fantastic. That is fresh cream. Their first album, Cream. Yeah, so
I feel free, dude.
Yeah. So again, you got to check out that. I'm going to post a playlist of a lot of these, so you guys can check out, especially Asia and Alias. But
damn Yankees.
So, yeah, there's
big in there too.
There's a song. I think it's at the end. You got to watch the Sunshine of Your Love with Ginger Baker doing the drums, and it's so slow, but it's so amazing. You guys, you'll see. Just check it out. All right. So it has come down to this. Ladies and gentlemen. Who will be crowned as the top supergroup of all time? Johnny, do you have your number one selection? Who is your number one?
That one, I didn't think it was important. No, I'm going with the Foo Fighters just because where
Ooh.
Dave Grohl came from. He
Yeah.
created his group from scratch, and then he built that band to play his music that he envisioned, and then evolve from there. So I doubt he is. I hopefully don't think he's dictator of the group, but
I'm pretty sure he's the dictator of the group.
well, he's doing it in a good
Taylor,
way, right?
pretty much the main guys now. But yeah,
the members. I mean, the members changed along the way and just kind of grew with the band in a good way, and they're a lasting group and really good. I've been listening to this group since they first came out in '95 at Warehouse Music when we bought that first album.
so awesome.
Yeah, and I was just actually listening to their Bee Gees cover album. Did you hear that?
I haven't heard that yet, but
Oh my god,
I saw them play some of the songs live.
Yeah, I was prepping and listening to Foo Fighters Bee Gees. I think they're
That
called
is funny.
Bee Gees or something.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know.
Can't go
Nirvana
wrong
was
with the
one
Foo
of,
Fighters, man.
Yeah, Nirvana was one of my favorite groups of the '90s. I mean, I love Nirvana, probably one of the most. And it was weird that Foo Fighters became so good that I almost forgot that Dave Grohl was the drummer for them.
Yeah, right.
So, but once I heard the second album, Color and Shape, I knew they would last. It's very rare that a band would release a second album that eclipses the first.
Right,
album.
right, exactly. Yeah, that's very, very rare.
Very
yeah.
rare.
So, all right, Ethan. So, who do you have sitting at your number one?
What do you think, Josh? If you had to guess.
Mr. Big.
Yeah. Power Station.
Mr. Big's Velvet Revolver.
Who is it, Ethan?
It's Audioslave.
Audioslave, baby.
Come on, man. You know that there are a few people on earth that I love more than Chris Cornell. Like when he passed, I felt like I lost a family. Like, sadly, I was more upset about that than people I actually knew. Which is terrible.
Right, yeah.
I'm a terrible human being. But
how could they sing though?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah.
Like Chris's music from, seeing Audioslave, seeing Soundgarden live, seeing him on his songbook tour was just him. I mean, he's just the most transformative and powerful and emotive. Like he builds emotion out of me. And to do that with Rage Against the Machine would not be a combination you normally think, but like songs like Shadow in the Sun. Like
it's
John
crazy how much it worked, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's wild.
Beautiful. Just beautiful, wild songs that just cool lyrics. Show me how to, I mean, just so many songs there that first album. And then there's like good deep ones. Like, like John was saying, some of the stuff that got radio play, unfortunately, wasn't even the best stuff. And it makes me sad to think that like, maybe like John, there's a lot of people that don't even realize the amazingness of this band because that's all they've ever heard. So I just hope some people out there might take a deeper dig. But yeah, Audioslave is mine.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I love Audioslave. Again, I keep thinking about when you and I were talking about how they were going to become, it was like a rumor. I was like, whoa, like what? Like, yeah.
Too
So
good to be true. So
yeah. And then when it finally came out and was as good as it was, that was amazing.
To exceed expectations, it's not easy to do.
Yep. So
yeah, a cool story about Chris Cornell is I was going to WSU, living by myself in the basement of some random old dude's house out of town. Like, I used to get mail sometimes. Ethan sent me a tape. Chris Cornell's solo album had Sun Showers on it, and yeah, it was amazing. I was like, wow.
Oh yeah,
I didn't even know that.
So awesome. So good.
It was kind of nice little tidbit there.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my number one. And so this is my number one supergroup of all time. It's a band that has one of the best debut albums of all time. And they also ended up becoming one of the biggest groups of the entire decade. And that group is Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Crosby, Stills, and Nash. So, yeah. I just think it was, it's just, that album's like not only one of the best debut albums by a supergroup, but one of the best debut albums ever in history. And like John said with the Foo Fighters, they almost eclipsed, like even if they, I like the first album better, but the second album, Deja Vu, is the biggest, like one of the biggest selling albums of the 70s. Between those first two albums alone, they sold over 20 million copies worldwide.
Wow.
So that's pretty freaking insane. And yeah, they, like I mentioned earlier, they had to, when they blew up as big as they did, they were like, whoa, we got to get like someone that could play the guitar. So they asked Neil Young to, because he could do the guitar really well. So Woodstock was their second ever performance ever.
Wow. That's
Ever. And it's one of the most featured, most famous performances of that entire documentary movie.
Did they write that song just for that, like the last second? Or
that's a Joni Mitchell song. Yeah, because she agreed to be on some like TV show, and it was the same day as Woodstock or something like that. So she was like, "Oh, I guess I'm not going to Woodstock." So she wrote that song, and then they covered it. Yeah, yeah. So
okay.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So
it was a cover song.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, but when you want to talk about chemistry in a band and the magic between members, this is before, like you could do like that crazy studio magic that you could do now, where we were talking about how everything sounds perfect. And these guys, their voices together sounded magical. Like it was crazy. So I just think that
like a mix between Fergie and Jesus.
Yes. Yes, almost. Absolutely. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, this concludes our episode. I want to thank you guys both for coming on. I thank you again, John, for making the sign and sending it over to me. Awesome stuff. And
gotta figure out how to hang it now.
Yeah. It's a good reunion, and we need to do this again. Maybe do it a little bit shorter of an episode.
Hey, I don't mind.
We maybe meandered on a little too long. We got a little excited.
Yeah,
that's what old people do.
Yes.
Have fun editing this one, Josh.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm just gonna go with it. I'm just gonna go with it, man. Like
go raw.
Yeah. And so until next time, for Ethan McDonald and John Racage, I'm Josh. And make sure to subscribe and get updates on future shows, and with more discussions on, random topics like, mullets and mustaches and things like that. And then we'll have to smell like. I'm gonna put a playlist together, so you'll see it. It'll come up on the screen here. The playlist will come up, so you could click onto it and see what we're talking about, and give us your favorite picks, because we always like seeing like your favorite picks and your discussions on some of the stuff we talked about. So
absolutely,
thanks, guys, and we'll see you again soon. Okay.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you for tuning in to the Josh and Friends podcast. If you have any questions or comments about today's show, feel free to leave a message in the comment section below. If you enjoy listening to the podcast, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and follow the show. And check out some of the video clips posted on YouTube and Facebook. I'm Josh, and thank you for being a friend.